Good evening, everyone. I would like to start the meeting. I would just ask if, please, you could put your masks on so that we can start the meeting.
Usually start right on time, like are we wasting time? I thought we usually started on time with these meetings.
We are not able to start until everyone is wearing a mask, which is required by law. We would all like to get started. There are several individuals here who are not wearing a mask. We're all required to. I am happy to start. I'm just asking that please, people, put a mask so that we can follow the law.
A lot of us are here for the mask too, about the mask, and we would like to discuss a lot about that. Maybe we can start with open forum.
I cannot start the meeting until people follow the rules. So,
I just have a question. So, legally, you say it's the law, but I just came from work and I wasn't wearing a mask all day, so like, is there potentially more COVID in this room than in somebody's work environment? I'm trying to understand the science.
I am not going to break the law.
It's not a law.
Can you tell us what section of law
It's a
it is?
mandate. It's different.
You're an attorney, no?
No, I'm not.
It's just not a law, but,
I mean,
Do you have it written somewhere to where parents would like to read it? So if it is a law, you could actually read it, sign it, and you understand it. If it's tangible, it's explainable.
Tracy, is it the executive order that mandates masks be worn in school?
it is my understanding there is an executive order that is mandating masks be worn in school. So we are asking that all individuals in a school setting, please put on a mask. As soon as we follow that, we can start the meeting and have an open forum, which I believe everyone came for.
To be truthful, that mandate states that students must remain masked inside, and that is not necessarily per Governor Hochul. That's actually the New York State Board of Education that's implementing that mandate. It is not the governor. She has so generously passed the baton of accountability onto other people. So we're all here to respect one another, and we're all here to do so. The majority of us who are here to represent our children, whether we believe in masks or not. We're all here to participate with respect. And I think making this meeting about petty mask wearing or not wearing is what has gotten us here today, ma'am. And honestly, I think we would like to just hear some transparency from you, let you hear us, and go on our merry little way, and I'll be happy. And I think that's fair. I think we're wasting a lot of valuable time. I think a lot of class time is wasted on this too, which is probably why half these parents are sitting here.
Yes.
So let's be respectful to one another, hear what we got to say, go home, have a nice drink, have some dinner, and put our kids to bed.
Exactly.
It's not a law.
The law is indoctrinated by Congress, it is passed, it is in black and white writing, it's not introduced, and so we're here today without the law, and we're going to continue the meeting, probably with or without you. We would like if you joined.
I think my understanding is the executive order has the force of law. We're required to follow it, even though it's,
For children, it's a recommendation, and it's not a law.
Correct.
the executive order is not a law, but it has the force of law.
And
It's
a
not much
recommendation
different. We
according
still
to
have
the
to comply with
CDC's
it.
guidelines. And a recommendation, from my understanding of the word, is just that, a recommendation, cannot be forced or mandated.
And amazingly enough, I think common sense and respect to one another is a priority over whether or not you're wearing masks. Let's not make this about what we're wearing. Isn't that what we teach our kids? It's not about what you wear, it's about who you are. If we're all gonna be judged on our intelligence based off of who's wearing a mask and who isn't, I can tell you that the people in this room not wearing a mask are some upstanding blue-collar citizens that own businesses in this community. So I don't believe that's a fair judgment. I think what we have to say is more important. I think that a lot of conversation is being had in school that doesn't need to be had. And I think we need to get back to the fundamentals of why we send our children to this establishment. Now, we can sit here and argue whether it's a law all day long, but I promise you, when we go home and discuss with our kids what the outcome of tonight is, they are not going to come to school with smiles on their face underneath or not underneath their masks, feeling confident in their school district. We're here tonight as parents, and I'm not going to speak for every one of them, but I'm going to stand for respect. I'm going to stand that our kids are tired, just like you're tired. We are all in the same boat. It doesn't matter what political stance you stand on, whether you're vaccinated, masked, unmasked, or unvaccinated. We are all suffering in this world as a whole for many, many reasons, and this is not the most important one, I promise you that.
That's right. Correct, but I cannot convene a meeting that breaks the law.
Well, ma'am,
I
that's your
cannot
choice,
do
but
that.
it's not a law, and we can reiterate that all the time. We could certainly give you plenty of time to Google the law and pull it up on that nice screen with Smart and Strong on it. If you'd like to share it with us, we'd be more than welcome to read it out loud together in solidarity.
Or if you're not comfortable with it, maybe you can just get started without you. I mean, I don't know what else to do here. We're done with
Very
this.
one-sided, I don't think it's fair, but it's up to you.
I would say I don't think it's a matter of respect or judgment. I mean, speaking for myself, I assume the rest of the board would agree with me. If you're choosing not to wear a mask, I don't think it's a matter of intelligence. I don't disrespect you for your choice. A guideline is different than an executive order, but the executive order has the force of law, and we're required to follow it. And it's a school requirement that if you're in the school, you wear a mask.
If you're
For all of the meetings we've had, we've had that requirement, and we're just asking.
Hunter, you're here, right? Let's just skip over this. You guys on this side? No, wait for them to start the meeting.
Well, you can. I know if there
That's okay, we could just sit here until, we could just waste the entire meeting and go home and tell our kids that nothing positive came out of our adult conversation.
So the government doesn't have jurisdiction over us, the parents. When the Supreme Court shut down that it's illegal for a business, which is what this is, to enforce a mandate on its employees, even if it's over 100 people, this whole conversation is irrelevant. It's already been squashed in the Supreme Court. So you may have some control over our children for now, but you don't control us. We're free people, and we can talk if we want. We don't have to wear a mask. No one's coming
Exactly.
to arrest us. It's not happening. You ever see somebody get arrested for no mask?
But you are convicted of a crime in the court of law and you are found not guilty, and an appeal is filed, you are going to continue to not be guilty until you are then in the court of law found guilty. So when Governor Hochul will overturn this, she can appeal it all she likes. But until it is overturned again, we are free people. This is an establishment, this is a business, and we are all here to be respectful.
100%.
Now, we could raise our hands who's got a tattletale on the nice young woman in the purple shirt that she doesn't want to participate in the meeting. You have that right, ma'am. We respect that. We respect that you do not feel comfortable participating, but that does not mean that our life cannot continue and go on. And nobody here, I would certainly imagine, would have a problem with you just listening in if that makes you feel more comfortable.
It's 6:11. I would ask respectfully that everyone wear a mask. Those that do not want to, if you would leave, please. Okay? Otherwise, I would say at some point we'll have to just not even have a meeting. And I think I would like to have a dialogue or something, but I have to follow the executive mandate. I took an oath, and that means something.
Okay, well, with that being said, my name is Amanda Calvo. I currently have 3 children under your administration. I stand here tonight in the absolute stance for freedom. Freedom for the right for my children and all children to choose if masking is right for them. I do not stand here making a choice for any other. I teach my children in my home to respect individuals' choices and all aspects, as you preach and also often try to teach in your school district, that we need to respect the choice, because choice is the universal language that I hope after tonight every one of you can come to terms with. If my children were to come to school and tell you that my family forces them to stay in their room, wear a certain outfit at home that makes them uncomfortable, told them that they cannot voice their concerns, did not allow them to interact with friends, or constantly ridiculed, badgered, and belittled them, you would contact the proper authorities, my friends. You would say that they were in an abusive environment. Well, Greenville School District, as you may not be responsible for the pandemic, you are responsible for standing up what is morally right. You are on notice. This is unconstitutional, and the line is being drawn. You have stopped supporting our children. Tonight, I want to thank you. Thank you for the fear that I witnessed standing outside your school, of the children who did not exercise their rights. I want to thank you for preaching that our constitutional right is important, but now preaching inside these 4 walls that my children and other children in this district cannot exercise that. I want to thank you for all the stolen memories. I want to thank you for all the things that us parents have missed out on. I want to thank you for not letting my son know what it's like to ask a young lady for the first time to dance at this Valentine's Day dance. That'll never happen. I want you to understand that nobody here holds you accountable for a pandemic, an epidemic, whatever it is that you choose to call it. But at some time, you are going to have to choose. Because I promise when I tell you, no matter your political stance, masked or unmasked, vaccinated or unvaccinated, we are all in this together. We will all suffer the same consequences. You can stand up here and fight for the mask because it's what you believe in, but I promise you the end result will be the same for every one of us, no matter what we believe. We have families with stories who can't afford groceries. We have stories that are untold with children who are being abused, and this is all that is happening in our school. Your teachers and staff are not waving hello. They are not telling the students, I missed you over break. They're saying, pull your mask up. Go to the office. You're not complying. Be quiet. Don't voice your opinion. Well, let me explain something to you clearly. We teach our children from a young age, whether it be physical abuse or mental abuse, to advocate for themselves. That's why we're here today. We're not asking you to wave your magic wand. We're asking to teach our children that you'll have their back. We're asking for transparency, that you will tell us that at some point, when this doesn't look like it's going to have a light, you will flip that switch and say, we will stand with our children. I want to thank you for allowing your staff who has crossed the line. I will provide a picture should anyone need to have it, where your staff is touching students, physically fixing their masks. My daughter has asked to not be touched. Social distancing is out the window, but a child cannot advocate to not be touched. If my child were to touch unwillingly another student, there would be a repercussion, you understand? These are rules you have implemented, friends, not me. I want to thank you for your staff getting power that they do not have. They are exercising power that they do not have the authority to exercise. They are here to educate. They are not police. They have asked our children their vaccine status. They have asked our children political questions. This is all irrelevant to math and writing and arithmetic, my friends. This is not why I send you my children. So I ask this school district tonight, where is your line? When are you going to ensure us that our children come first? Stop the tyrannical behavior, stand up for our kids, stop accompanying it by intimidation, which I saw today when the staff locked the doors for the students who wanted to exercise safely under parental control their rights today. I ask you to remember your zero tolerance for bullying because you are participating. Now, remember this, last but not least, attitude reflects leadership, my friends. Make it make sense. Thank you.
We're still doing the mass standoff. Should we just hear from the kid? I think he's got a lot to say. Oh. You're not, they don't listen to you.
Actually have listened to it before, but people wait.
Awesome.
All right, well, I'm gonna say one thing, because I don't have a lot of time for this, honestly. Hey, I sacrificed my job just to be here. So, I had a little something written down, you know. Unfortunately, a lot of us are spending time here when, really, we pay for our children to spend time here and for you to advocate for them, not for us to advocate for their inalienable human rights. Okay, none of us have time for that. It's just basic common sense. But anyway, I wrote something down. I'll make it real quick. Just really sad, you know. I've watched these kids for the past 2 years, and they're not the same kids. It's disgusting, actually. Okay. To the board, respectfully, like I said, I don't think any of us are here for conflict. We would just like answers and like to, you know, give you guys an idea of what a lot of us have been experiencing. So my name is Eric Angelosi. I currently have 2 boys in the Greenville Central School District. I want to say my boys, they've been unlawfully muzzled with dangerous face masks for about 2 years now, okay? And I say, enough's enough. For the record, and to be clear, I am not anti-mask. I am anti-mask mandate. The fact that these dangerous masks have finally been deemed, as a matter of fact, you can't talk with these things. That's why, you know what I mean? I know what the kids are going through. Sad. I'm put it in perspective. We all watched the Super Bowl this weekend, 70-some thousand people, right? Didn't see a lot of masks, right? I go to work today, Monday morning. I'm not wearing a mask. Nobody else is wearing a mask. But I gotta put my kids on a bus in a mask and know that they're gonna have that son of a gun on for 8 hours a day. It's inhuman. It's not cool, okay? I know it's a power thing, but we won't go there. So, the fact that these dangerous masks have finally been deemed pointless, especially the cloth ones, not by me, by the scientific community at large, okay? Not my opinion. They do not mitigate the spread or prevent the virus. And at this point, forcing their application, it's downright child abuse. Now, because I believe that we all have the right as human beings to be free, not given to us by man or a school board, but given to us by the Almighty God. For God's sakes, it's time to end these totally useless, abusive, tyrannical, and totalitarian mask mandates once and for all. Our founding fathers right now would be rolling in their graves how far we have fallen. It's shameful. In closing, I want to give an example. Not only do these masks not provide any protection or mitigation, it is now publicly accepted, not by me, by the whole scientific community, that the masks don't help. They actually cause more harm both mentally and physically. I'm all about protecting the kids, but it's not working. This tells me it's no longer about the science, it's all about control. The jig is up. Ordinary people all over the world, just like me, are waking up and they're fed up. The same parents, like me, have the right not to muzzle our kids. The other parents also have the right to force their children, if they like, to wear 1, 2, even 3 masks. It is well within their rights as parents. If they prefer remote learning, that's great. If it provides the illusion of safety from the China virus, they can wear 3 masks, do remote learning, shelter in place, and even crawl under a piece of furniture and curl up in a fetal position. It's up to them, God bless. Okay? Now, last thing that I wanted to say was, leave my kids out of it. I say no more. No more mandates, no more cancel culture, no more wokeness, definitely no more vaccine shaming, which happens to go on in this very institution. Some of you may be in this room, others may know who they are, but we know who you are, okay? It's deeply disturbing. We control our children's health, not you. And how dare you make them feel less than for not getting an experimental shot? Because that's what this is. It doesn't stop the virus, doesn't keep them from going to the hospital. Don't matter if you're vaccinated, unvaccinated, triple vax, 3 masks. Everybody has the same outcome. Everybody can get COVID, everybody can die from it. It's not worth our kids' future, okay? So, the hypocrisy is deeply disturbing, all right? In closing, we're in a unique moment in time. The whole world is being red-pilled simultaneously. Enjoy it. Grab some popcorn. When the history of this great country is written, what side will you be? As for me and my house, we stand for freedom, and we serve our Lord. God bless you, and God bless America.
Yeah, don't forget that.
Those are tough acts to follow, but I did prepare something, and I'm nervous that if I don't say it now, that you're going to dismiss us all, and I won't have the opportunity. So, hello, my name is Tricia Serrano. I am a mother to 3 students here at GCS. I am also one of the community members who started a petition that has been circulating online. The petition explicitly called on parents and guardians in our district to sign in support of optional masking at school or unmasking altogether. Of our approximate 1,100 students, many who share siblings, 189 signatures were collected. You can reference this list in one of the 2 emails I sent that were not responded to. But I'm here today to talk about my children specifically. I'll start by saying that my kids are good-hearted, funny, enthusiastic people. They are eager learners and they follow the rules. I have reason for you to consider how damaging masks have been to their education and their well-being. My youngest is in 1st grade. He struggles with articulation and has bouts of separation anxiety. Here's an example. When my son says the word the in passing conversation, he pronounces it with a V sound, saying the. Think about how different that looks when you say that out loud, the and the. The primary intervention for correcting articulation delays is watching another person's mouth move as they speak. That's it. It's that easy. It usually happens organically, and children grow out of it because teachers at early grade levels are trained to enunciate and articulate with exaggerated facial expression, where our children's eyes are drawn to where the sound is coming from, their mouths. Because of masks, my son spends more than 30 hours per week learning with minimal exposure to the main technique that will help him with articulation. As much as we practice at home, consistent exposure in an instructional environment is key. His teachers are great, but this obstacle is proving difficult for any child with speech barriers. Now imagine how it affects reading and writing or being asked to spell it like it sounds. The amount of effort and energy my son has to put into practicing and committing sight words to memory is exhausting. Masks are hindering Jackson's education. It is my responsibility to speak on his behalf. It is also yours, but your hands are tied. I have a 4th grader. In September, I was confused when my bright, cheerful child would tell me that he was crying every day at school. I'd ask, "Does anyone help you?" And he'd say no, that they couldn't see it because he was silently crying into his mask. Yeah. I do not blame his teacher, who, by the way, has been a huge support in his mental health journey. Things escalated quickly, though. My son started to visit the school nurse, sometimes 7 times a day. He wanted to check his oxygen levels, his heart rate, throat, and temperature. He was afraid he was going to die. Following his flu shot, these emotions heightened, and we struggled with school avoidance. When we got him there, he would need constant reassurance. I was in daily communication with his teacher, guidance counselors, and nurses, and the principal. We took measures at home and had to involve his pediatrician and other supports. Guess what he has to do now? Therapy, medication, OCD behaviors. I wonder, I'm floored. I am proud of his gains, but this has snowballed into a mental health crisis. Our children have been conditioned to be afraid and to consider death as an outcome of sickness. Masks are a symbol of that fear. This new anxiety that my son struggles with has disrupted his ability to focus and to learn to the best of his ability. It is my responsibility to speak on his behalf. It is also yours, but your hands are tied. My oldest is in middle school. He has asthma. It is controlled with twice daily medication and a rescue inhaler. He is considered a part of the immunocompromised community. Raiden cannot wear cloth masks because it restricts the amount of oxygen he feels he needs to comfortably breathe. The paper masks are also an issue because he tends to break out where his skin comes into contact with it. But he is forced to wear masks, so we deal with the skin irritation. He gets frustrated because he loves PE and being competitive, but he struggles to breathe with a mask on. He should have to deal with that though, right? The mandate is in place for people like him. But what about the headaches he gets after masked physical activity, which can distract him from fully engaging in class after gym? The same headaches he gets anytime he has a chest cold that restricts his oxygen intake. And this is not the same as COVID, by the way. We had it. He was fine. He's cleared his throat a couple of times. My son has encountered more asthma complications since masks were introduced than before it. So I tell you again, it is my responsibility to speak on his behalf. It is also yours, but your hands are tied. I am here today because, like all of you, I adhere to the recommendations of the Department of Health and the protocol set forth by the leadership of this district. And now, after seeing the firsthand effects of how masks have impacted my children, I am speaking up for them and children like them. I am asking you to do the same. Speak up. As much as we enjoy drafting letters that take hours to write and review, only to get a copy-paste response saying your hands are tied, or even better, getting no response at all, tell us where you stand. A very successful person once told me that it is better to ask for forgiveness than to ask for permission. The state has only hinted at measures that would be taken for schools who do not comply with the mask mandate. What are you waiting for? And when this mandate is over and schools are free to choose their position on masking, where will you stand? Will you speak up for my children, or are you more concerned with your reputation? I stand with all these parents behind me against masking our kids. Thank you so much for your time.
My name is Gina Blinas. Like Tricia, I'm afraid if I don't speak now, I'm not going to have the opportunity to do so. I don't like to speak in public. But I'm here tonight on my daughter's 8th birthday to be here to show them what I believe and that I support them and want things to change. I have concerns and frustrations regarding the unconstitutional mask mandates and quarantine protocols at our school. My daughters are in elementary school in 2nd and 5th grade. I'm sure that most of you have watched the Super Bowl and the basketball games and the conference football games and all the other events that are taking place on TV, or you've probably have attended them yourselves. And there they are, maskless, enjoying their life without any fear. And when I see these large groups of adults gathered together maskless, not following the same senseless, unconstitutional mask mandates that my children have to, it makes me even more infuriated that my children must wear a mask to receive an education. And yet our schools, they can't even sit 3 feet away from each other without taking the masks off. How is that right? How can we justify this? And how can we continue to force our children to suffer like that? Sadly, it's for political theater and monetary gain. Children are the least vulnerable and have the lowest risk of serious complications from this virus, and yet they're the ones being punished the most. Why are we allowing this virus to force our children to comply with ineffective measures such as wearing masks and forced quarantines? It's time to allow parents to decide what's right for their children. I believe that everyone should have a choice. I firmly believe there are long-term negative consequences of wearing masks that outweigh any benefit that was believed to be true. And Tricia's case certainly validates that. The bacteria that is captured in these masks on a daily basis, even when washed daily, is disgusting and unhealthy for our children, and I want them to breathe fresh air. I am sad that my daughters are not able to see their teachers and their classmates' faces. I believe our children are failing to learn one of the most basic forms of communication, how to read people's facial expressions and emotions. So much can be interpreted and understood by just looking at a person's face and reading their expression. Looking and seeing emotion on a peer's face, our children need to experience this. These children are missing a simple education by being forced to wear a mask all day long. It also saddens and angers me that the school has shut down to visitors. I am no longer able to volunteer in my children's classrooms. I was there on a weekly basis, volunteering in both of my daughter's classes. I had been fortunate to be able to volunteer at career days and participate in different activities designed to mentor at-risk kids in the elementary school. I've been part of the 4th grade Potter Hollow Day, presenting my time, presenting to students and volunteering my time. And because of this, I know my daughter's 5th grade class better than my 2nd grade daughter. I've been able to establish relationships with those classmates that I don't have with my youngest daughters. I have not been able to have lunch with my daughters like I used to. And I want to eat lunch with them again because they still want me to. And these years are fleeting that we have. And I've lost so much. We all have. I'm also completely against the forced quarantines for perfectly healthy students. You're removing them from a classroom for a possible exposure, missing critical education that only takes place most effectively in the school. The 1 hour of tutoring that is now available, I believe when a parent asks for it, is nowhere near as effective way to keep these children up to date. And I know that teachers are doing an amazing job and are doing the best that they can, but an hour of tutoring because my child's on quarantine, it's not enough. So my school has forced my child to stay home and quarantine for a possible exposure, but won't properly educate my child while on a forced quarantine. I have no words. We have been lied to over and over these past 2 years. We were lied to about how long our businesses, schools, and the economy would be shut down. We were lied to that we were protecting others by wearing cloth masks. We were lied to about the effectiveness of these masks. And we were also lied to about the effectiveness of the vaccine. Study after study is being published that the masks are ineffective and are detrimental to our children's health. Our children do not deserve to be masked and silenced by government officials and department leaders who claim to have their best interest in mind when clearly they have underlying motives. So how much longer do our children have to endure wearing these masks that have been proven to be ineffective? When will the government deem it safe to return to normal? The problem is they won't, because the mask mandate is a means to get more people and children vaccinated and more monetary gain. Let me make this clear. I will not vaccinate my child against this virus, this experimental vaccine, and I will immediately pull my children from the district should the vaccine be mandated at our schools. We as adults need to realize the damage we are doing to our children. Their mental health is being compromised, their relationships with peers and elders are fractured, and their education is suffering. When do we say enough is enough? When do we take back our lives, stop living in fear, and stop believing the lies? When do we start to think rationally and realize these mandates and policies are unconstitutional, discriminatory, and unhealthy? When do we stand up for our children and demand these mask mandates and policies be removed? For me, it's today. Mandates and recommendations by the New York State Department of Health are not law. Your hands aren't tied. You have the choice to lift the mandates and change the policies for our schools and give parents a choice. The question is, do you have the courage to do so?
Exactly.
I would like to call a recess. 10 minutes, please.
I just want to add one quick thing before you do that recess, to touch on the mental health. I firsthand 3 weeks ago was witness to a child who needed MCAT. I don't know if everyone's aware of that. MCAT is an emergency response team that comes to assess a child for suicide. The other person on the phone answered, "We can't help you. We can't come to help you. I'm sorry. We are so overloaded with suicide phone calls." This is Greene County, friends. I can't see your faces, but I will tell you, you have children. You listen to me, you have grandchildren. The problem isn't a mask. The problem is how we're going to get these kids back healthy mentally. When MCAT and suicide response cannot treat and help our children, ask yourself, how many of them are you willing to sacrifice for standing up for people you don't know? You know us. You can change this.
Right. We'll be recessing this meeting, or which hasn't even started, for at least 10 minutes.
All right, we'll be here when you get back.
while we're on recess.
We are asking you to leave, please. Is that
I'm
where
just
we're
gonna say one
go?
thing. I've been coming to board meetings since my child.
Okay, if the board would convene, please, in the other room,
I have
please.
one child who's in a special needs class.
How you take it?
Completely agree with everything you guys got going on here. Had no idea this was going on here. We need to go to Albany. That's where the fight needs to go. These guys, I know why you're here, you wanna know what their position is, I get that. I'd like to know too. I'd like to hear every one of your stories. But the fight needs to go to Albany. That's where it needs to go. And I don't really answer.
We are not going to
If you're
start the
acknowledging,
meeting.
if a
However,
parent is
we
saying that a
think-
child is being touched by a student, masked or no masks right now, the principals are here. That is not okay. A teacher to physically assault a child, who cares about the masks right now? You're hearing that as an adult. That is not okay. And for it to be ignored is really bad. So I want to know.
Are we officially starting?
No.
Good? Is this on the record?
We are
We
not,
can't start.
but we're listening.
Why can't you start this meeting?
Can you answer questions?
No. Why can't you start this meeting?
Because everyone who's in the school is supposed to be masked.
Okay, so let me ask you this question, okay? Everybody says the CDC, the government, paper mask and cloth masks don't work. So if you want everybody in this room to comply, bring out the proper mask that they supposedly say work. Or let's get over this little BS hurdle, okay? Because I'm going to tell you something. I got 3 kids that come to this school, and I'm a big part of this community. I don't fight for just my kids. I fight for all the kids in this community. And for you to sit here, all of you should be ashamed of yourselves, except for one of you, okay? To sit here, say, I'm not going to start a meeting because you're not going to wear a mask. It don't work. It's paper, it's cloth. It's proven science. And for other people that don't have a medical degree to get on and preach about a vaccine when you're supposed to be teaching my kids, okay, and welcoming them to school, because when my two twins went to the elementary school, they came home the happiest little son of a bitches there were.
Exactly.
Right.
Happiest kids. All of a sudden, the pandemic, not your fault. I chime in with that, not your fault. But you know what? When there's a problem, you people on this board can fix it. Because I'm on a board, and there was a goddamn problem. I fixed that. You have the power. You're choosing not to because of this. This community will not stand behind you if you don't support them and stand behind them. You stand behind us and you stand with our kids and stop torturing them, we got your back.
That's right.
But until then, you're on your own because you've shown us that we're on our own. And I'm telling you now, my 3 kids will come to school every day without a goddamn mask because the paper and cloth don't work. You want them to wear it? Show me the mask you want them to wear that supposedly works. Stop preaching the vaccine. Stop calling me every other day. Mr. LaQuarrie, tell your kid to pull up his mask. No more, Brian. Okay? Don't call me. We ain't doing this shit no more. I'm done. I will fight for every goddamn kid in this community. And you can take that goddamn superhero shit off your face. Because you're just as bad as everybody else.
Excuse me, please, excuse me. We are asking that if you would be respectful.
Respectful? You know what? I'm not going to use foul language no more. But you ain't getting respectful. Because you don't respect anybody in this room or their kids. None of them. You're part of the problem. You're pushing these kids against each other. I don't care if you're vaccinated. I don't care if you wear a mask. I don't. That's what I teach my kids. You know what I teach my kids? I got twins that are 13 and I got a 7-year-old boy. I teach my kids no matter what, you stand up for what's right.
Right.
You see somebody getting bullied, don't turn your cheek. You go over there and you help them.
See something, say something, board.
What about that?
Listen, since my kids have been going to this school, that's your policy. See something, say something.
That's right.
Don't just turn the other cheek and walk away. Isn't that what you're doing?
That's right.
That's right.
That's what you're doing. Me and mine will never, ever turn down a fight that has to be fought. We will always do what's right. We will never bow our head because you are afraid to pick yours up.
Those kids.
You're here for a reason.
That's right.
Remember why you're here.
Right.
Thank you.
We had a conversation when you guys were convening inside. I won't get into the whole thing. I just want to say, I'll make this kind of brief. Ms. Alsasser did come today. She did have questions. She did see our protest and the things that we're saying about it on social media.
Thank you.
Thank you. And recognize that it sounded pretty harsh. She didn't take their word for it. She came by, she drove by a bunch of times and saw that we weren't quite being how we were being portrayed. The kids weren't being portrayed accurately. And she took the time to ask us what our concerns were and went through that. And we appreciate that. It's awesome.
Yes.
Full disclosure, you know, we all are, most of us are on social media. I don't agree with probably just about 90% of the thing that, you know, that Ms. Alsasser talks about or her views on things. But it doesn't mean that we can't have a conversation. And she did take the time to at least try to understand the concern of the kids and the parents. And one of the things that we talked about is we have had experiences throughout the whole day, in particular, and a lot of us parents out there prior to today. But the administration did come out, you know, and get right up close to us and
Several times.
And had a lot of thoughts of how it should be, how the protest should be, and so on. But never once was there any true interest in what the kids are concerned about. You know, and maybe there is a concern, but it certainly isn't portrayed. It's certainly not obvious in any way. And I certainly believe that at least the body language and the way, what I witnessed. While they do need to have a certain persona for school, makes total sense, we certainly didn't get, it certainly seemed forceful and intimidating for the kids, that they wouldn't want to voice their opinion to them. Some kid, there was a particular student that did decide to voice their opinion, and even with that, and again, I can't say what's on the heart of the administration, but when she did voice her some thoughts and some concerns and some events that have gone on, how she felt, there is no true response that says, hey, let me take a few minutes. These kids are protesting. We keep coming out all day. There was no effort to say, well, do you want to tell me about this now? Do you want to explain what your situation is? You know, I mean, they are kids. Whether they found the protest right or wrong or what have you, they are kids, you know? So, I mean, I like to give them some kind of leeway, even if they were going about something incorrect. And so that is, so I just want to state that Ms. Alcester came out to ask that question. I really wondered, does anyone else in the building have that concern for the kids? Are they ever going to actually ask? And I was at meetings a couple years ago. We did security meetings for the school, and we're going to get a police officer in the school, someone that can be there. It's another phase of protection for the kids, and there's a whole plan involved that went on for probably at least an hour or 2 hours about the concern and being proactive about the mental health of the kids and all these different things to prevent bad issues and an active shooter situation or something like that, and I went on and on, yet I don't see anything where there's anything outwardly obvious where a kid would feel comfortable to express themselves in any way. So, just please keep that in mind, that maybe the people in the administration are truly concerned. If they are, it's not something that I'm seeing, obviously. It's not something that I'm experiencing, and from our kids, that doesn't seem to be the way it's going. And one other statement is that we might be part of the extreme minority. I used an example before while you were in there. There was a time where we just had a Black Appreciation meeting the other day on event on the video here, the homeroom for the kids. And I didn't particularly agree with the direction that it went. And I think I may have sent you guys an email. But the thing is there was a time where the extreme, only a small minority thought black kids should be in school, and those people were thought to be nuts. So if anyone's not vibing the things that we're saying, just because we might not be maybe the majority doesn't mean that we might not be correct in our assessment or the things that we want. So I certainly hope that you might engage with some of the administration and ask some questions. And if you're allowed in the school, I don't think I am, if you're allowed in the school, maybe stop in during the day. I know you guys are pretty tied up, I'm sure everyone's super busy, but maybe start asking some of the kids what's going on. Maybe start seeing what that vibe is. Because you're going to get the best picture. They're going to put on the best show for you.
They're what's most important. Start talking to them. In 14 or so days, when the governor decides whether this is going to become something that's extended or she's going to drop it, how are you guys prepared to handle the situation? Because today, my son and these gentlemen and myself had milk thrown at them by other students who were against the peaceful protest. So the problem that you guys are presented is not with us. It's how are you going to teach the children to respect one another when the choice is allowed? How are you going to teach them that it is not okay to discriminate or to make personal remarks on one's belief against another student based off of what they are now airing? That's a real, genuine issue. And you really need to start digging full heels in with all your volunteering hours and figure out how are you going to bring these kids in an auditorium and have a good, honest, adult-like, respectful conversation about where we are in this country. We are all speaking to our kids on your behalf at home. We ask you to do the same here. I don't want my children going to school feeling uncomfortable because they just want to be comfortable. I would never allow my children to make somebody uncomfortable because they want to be comfortable. you guys really have to start asking yourself how you're going to deal with that. Because these kids are going to be forever divided if we allow it. If it's not race, if it's not Nike sneakers or masks or who lives in an apartment or a house, it's always going to be something. You've made it a point to address it before. My children were asked this year if they were gay, bisexual, transgender. I didn't come in here screaming about that. Why? Even though I may not agree with it, even though I don't feel comfortable with it, because I believe it's personal, I didn't come in here screaming. Why? Because I'm backing you. At home, I'm teaching my children that we need to be accepting of everyone. I have children in my home who have their own personal choices that may not align with everybody's here. It is the most important thing to me, not what my kids do for a living, not what their GPA is, even though they're great students. It's how they treat the people around them. My children have never been reprimanded in your school district. They are good kids. They are academically excellent students. You want to know why I'm here? Because this is the last straw for me. My name is Amanda Calvo. My son was set to graduate a year early, having an IEP his whole life. He's on the autism spectrum. He was assaulted with a hate crime. He was spit on, he was called a femme faggot, and he tried to commit suicide, friends. He was marked absent even though medically he was signed out. He didn't graduate from your school board. He left while the student who assaulted him walked the stage in the pandemic. The principal looked at my son, broken glasses on his face, crying and completely humiliated. Why? He was assaulted by a female. The principal, Ward, who's no longer here, told him in front of me and the sheriff, "Well, Manuel, you should have stood up for yourself." So when I approached and I wanted to advocate for my child who was then on suicide watch to get his work, I asked the principal if it was okay if I just climbed on up over that table and slapped the shit out of him. Was he going to call the cops, or was he going to stand up for himself? I've taught my children at all costs to be respectful to you and the other students. My son was a scholar. He lost multiple scholarships. He ran cross country for you and held records. He never lost a race. That young lady over there, Miss Van Fleet, oversaw his IEP all through school. He attended his last meeting. He was at the top of his class when he signed himself out of special education, friends. My son is like so many others. My son was punished for being a good man. So I stand here today as the last straw. My second daughter, an honorable student, followed behind her because students texted her and said, "You should have tried to kill yourself like your brother." This is the realization of the mental health crisis in your school. This isn't just about masks. I've lost 2 children to your school district who are top-notch students. Neither one has ever been written up. They've never had a detention. They've never disrespected a teacher. You can leave here right now, and you can go ask those teachers who Manuel Calvo is, and they will tell you he is the nicest young man they have ever crossed paths with. He was at the deathbed of Kay Sutton. He's an outstanding young man and still is. The line has got to be drawn. We don't need a miracle. We need transparency, that you've thought about your grandchildren, your children, and have stopped acting on behalf of those who don't know and start acting on behalf of those who do. We will stand with you. We will always stand with you. You don't want to fight us. We are not your enemy. Unless you choose us to be. That's not a threat. We're here because our job, from the time we gave birth as a woman, or we held our child as a husband and a father, that we needed to protect our children. We're not here because we want to fight. We don't want to be arrested and hauled off. We want to know that at some point you're going to also say, enough is enough. That's it.
Stand with us.
My son was told he couldn't give his Valentine to his girlfriend. He's in 8th grade. What the hell is that? Social distance. Meanwhile, the teacher's yelling at the next one who's running down the hallway 2.5 inches from their face. Make it make sense. don't have to do this. I understand you're scared about funding, that you want to give our kids materialistic-wise everything that they're entitled to have. But I promise you that material things, as though you were taught, I know you all were, are not going to make the difference. This is the child who's been physically abused, school district. This is the child that gentleman said articulated herself and upheld herself respectfully and kindly. This child was abused under your school district.
How can you guys just sit there knowing that this is true? She has proof of it. The child is here, and you can't talk because we're not wearing masks. Doesn't that hurt your soul as parents, as adults?
That we can't talk.
Well, how come you're not responding to her?
Why, there's nothing, there's no humanity, there's
Not
no,
one-
I'm
one
sorry,
thing from
can we
us.
please talk about this later? Can I please see the proof? Can we please verify this? There's no compassion, you're just sitting there.
Go ahead, Pete.
Listen.
No compassion.
Listen.
She'll tell the story.
I don't need anything from you, honestly. Because every day when I wake up, I know that I have to come into this school, and it's never going to be, for the past year since 8th grade, it will never be, oh, hi, good morning, oh, hi, how was your weekend? It's always going to be pull your mask up, even when it's just under my nose or above it. It doesn't matter, because they're always looking for something to nitpick at me. I'm so upset that I just had to watch this meeting, which they keep turning the audio off because they know that you are all wrong. They know. You guys know what you're doing. Even if you can sit here and say that it's not me, but it is. You guys all partake in what's going on. I'm respectful. I love the new principal. She's amazing, and she knows that I have very respectful conversations with her. I'm an honor student, but I've had enough. People haven't seen my face since middle school. There's no school dances, there's no anything, nothing to look forward to, honestly. Nothing. It's literally abuse. I feel hurt every day. There's no learning, teaching, and belong. That's your motto, but you don't preach it. This is a no bullying zone, but every one of you to me are bullies, honestly. I feel bullied. Every day I feel bullied in this school. Standing outside today, which I was one of those students proudly, I was made fun of course I was, because I was one of the few people in that group standing outside. And I'm okay with that, because it was for a reason. And I don't know if you know, but the comments on this broadcast are saying, oh, you guys are killing yourselves in your opinions over a mask. It's not just a mask, it's more than that. And we all know that. It's more than that. It's power and it's disrespect. And when I'm told every day to respect a teacher, knowing she doesn't respect me or my education, it's hurtful. It's hurtful. I can't have my family come to my games. I have to pick two people. Two people I have to pick. I can either pick my parents, my grandparents, maybe a friend, which I've lacked to make because of these masks. It is so unsettling what you guys have been doing. And how all of these students, I can't speak for all, but I can guarantee you it is most how they're feeling. And it's just being ignored and ignored and ignored. It's always, I was quarantined because I was in close contact with somebody who possibly had COVID. But the vaccine kid who's sitting next to them didn't get quarantined. Carmela missed out on a solo, which she has a beautiful voice, missed out on a solo concert because she was quarantined. Opportunities are being dismissed and taken from us, and it's so unfair. And so when I'm told every day, oh, well, you just need to follow the rules, and these are the rules, and it'll be over, I'm done following so many of these rules. It's been years. It has literally been years. I can barely focus in class when I'm focusing on my breathing. I mean, what is going on? I was literally sitting home watching this, and none of you guys are talking? None of you guys have anything to say, which I know you do, but you don't want to do it because we're not wearing masks. Which we're not wearing masks.
What I said is that I wasn't going to convene the meeting because we weren't having masks. But what we also said was that we wanted to hear what you were saying. So we're all part of the same community.
So start acting like it.
That is your student. That is your
told you a
student.
bunch of stuff. What do you, like, seriously, I've gone to these board meetings. Every single one of you talk. Every single one of you have so much participation in this. And now we have students here who are being abused. The masks are being duct taped to their faces. Are you kidding me?
Oh, and
you have a sign over there that says things to do today.
I failed to mention.
Breathe in and breathe out.
Right. I failed to mention, teachers have said that they'll staple the mask to my face. They have come up to me and taped the mask to my face. I've been told every morning almost when my mask is below my nose, oh, are you trying to kill my mom? Oh, are you trying to harm my grandma? Oh, and just last year I was in science and Miss Jensen was pregnant. She said, are you trying to kill my baby?
That is not okay.
Not to mention she's wearing multiple masks on her face. But how does that make me feel? How as a teacher in this district can you honestly say something like that to anybody? In here or out of there, anywhere. That's not okay to say to anybody, especially a 15-year-old, because that makes me think. I'm very brave and I stand up for what I believe in, but sometimes, a lot of the times, I get very hurt by the behavior and immaturity of the people in this district.
You don't have to answer as a board, but you damn well should answer her as a person and as a human, because that is your student. And those things that just came out of her mouth are absolutely atrocious. You don't need to be a board in this meeting if you don't want to call it, but you can be a human. And that's your right and that's your choice. And if you're going to sit there and not acknowledge what she just said to you, then that is also on record.
Miss Gannon, you're a great principal and I have a lot of respect for you. And we have talked about if I've done something wrong, if I have honestly, truly done something wrong, I will never fail to stand up for it. If I've done something wrong, I will always take accountability for it. This is wrong. This is very, very wrong. And I know that, and everybody else in this room knows that, and that's why everybody's here, and that's why I was sitting at home watching it. But now I'm here. Now I have to be here, because nobody has courage to speak except for the people sitting in this audience. You guys can sit there all night talking about, oh, well, I can't condone a meeting without masks on. Well, why? Explain to me again. It gives me an answer besides, oh, well, they're not wearing masks. We're human beings. I don't want to graduate with a mask on. I don't. I've been through years with it, and it's frustrating. I don't want to graduate with a mask on. There's children going to kindergarten thinking it's normal. You won't even know what they look like until they graduate. It's pathetic, and it's disgusting. And honestly, a lot of these teachers I have respect for, and a lot I most surely do not. And they should be ashamed of themselves. And you should be ashamed that you're sitting here not saying anything. You should be ashamed, honestly.
I'm in a no-win situation. I say something, I
No,
don't
but
say something.
you know what? She just poured out her heart and what happened to her, and you're showing no
I'm sorry,
compassion.
we'll work on it.
Not, hey, listen, come to my office, I want to talk to you and your mom. Let's get to the bottom of what's been happening to you.
She deserves an answer.
You're showing nothing.
She deserves an answer.
You're showing no compassion to this girl. She's 15. She ain't as old as us that can handle it and brush it off. You're showing her no compassion.
I know this isn't going to be set, just let me finish, hear me out.
But you're all sitting there not saying nothing to this poor 15-year-old.
I'm trying to start.
Her heart out.
I'm trying to start, and I apologize for not responding directly to you first. I just want to explain, I understand that it's frustrating when you sit here and listen. The way the board meetings are always structured, the open forum, we say it at the beginning.
This isn't an open forum.
I understand. Let me finish. That's the way it always has been. And I understand it's frustrating for people to come to the meetings, and I appreciate it when people do, whether you send an email or you come and talk. I appreciate the engagement and the hear. Like, we need to hear all of this, and I appreciate that. But in the meetings, the way we've always done it, for the open forum of the comments, setting aside whether we're meeting now or not, is we're here to listen and not respond. We can talk about, I think we can talk about, there should be an opportunity for discussion. I think, we can talk about that and figure out a way if people agree to make it happen. But I think part of in my opinion, I know it probably sounds silly to stand on formality now, we're not in a meeting, and given what we're talking about, to say that usually we just listen. But that said, I really appreciate what you said, and I appreciate it. I know it takes courage to stand up and share your experience, and I do appreciate that, and thank you for
The
it.
school can be ran completely different, but the board meetings are gonna stay the same?
That's not what I said.
Well, I mean, that's how I see it, right? So our kids are masked and everything is different for them, but you're gonna stick to the same rules with the board, I don't know, just.
If you have a set thing where you just sit here and listen and you don't say nothing, or we send you an email and you, excuse me, and you respond separately to our email, that's one thing. But when you got a 15-year-old girl, okay, pouring out her heart and her feelings on how she's abused and mistreated in your school, and you all sit here and don't show her any kind of compassion, that's screwed up. You want to sit here and listen to all of us parents speak our minds and tell you how we feel and how our kids feel? But when a 15-year-old girl or a 15-year-old boy tells you that they're being abused in this damn building that you're supposedly in charge of, and you go, oh, we normally just sit here and listen, that's bullshit.
That's not what I said.
That kind of thing?
Excuse me.
She
let me
deserves
respond.
a little bit
I
more.
said I want to hear everyone, including her. I don't want to talk over anyone. So if we're going to say anything, I'm going to wait for you to finish speaking instead of trying to talk over you. Same for her. When she finished, other people started talking, I was listening. Now, I realize, and I will apologize to everyone, I've kind of taken our normal protocol off the rails here. And I think that I'm not going to, I've heard some things that are concerning, but I think that still, whatever happened, I think there has, if there's going to be, I don't know what's happened. Like, I can't just respond and say, yeah, it sounds terrible, but I can't say if it, there's a process you have to go through. And I'll be totally honest, I don't know how to respond. Like, I appreciate what you said. I think you're brave. I think you're brave for what you said. I appreciate what you said. And, I've heard some things that are concerning. But, coming back to why we're here, I hear all the frustration. We can have the lawyer talk about why, what the issue is with the law. But what we said before also is we want to give people an opportunity to talk. We understand why, the feelings are hot and emotions are running high. And think there's a need for everyone to say their piece and want to hear that.
How do we go about going through this process when the administration doesn't have any useful information about how to go through the process other than, oh, I'm happy you sent an email, or that's interesting that you feel that way. Thank you for bringing it to our attention, and that's the end of it. So there's nothing to really do through the administration, and then we come to a board meeting, and it's, well, we really can't engage with you. We can speak, and then maybe you guys can run with that information, and then maybe or maybe not, make a motion for something or what have you. So if this is really the situation that there's not a means to engage in some kind of frank way, maybe that's something that you guys can think about to put in place. Oh, does anyone really care that much?
Yeah, a lot of people are watching.
Jim, you talked about the process. If you could please go to the mic so that people can hear. But you talk about the process. I can simply tell you individually, as Tracy, that not following the mandates, the administrators can lose their license. Not following the mandates, we could put $16 million of our budget at risk. I see some heads shaking. And my question is that when we evaluate risk, and I can't sit here and vote for something that is going to put $16 million in jeopardy.
What about the kids' health?
Our
$16
budget.
million
So-
you're abusing hundreds of students every day.
The money's It's
What
so
about the
important.
kids' mental health?
So they're
I mean, is that money that much more important than these kids' mental health? Some of these kids that I know, wait, I don't want to interrupt you, but I have to say this. Some of these kids that I know, they have lost their social skills.
That's right.
They won't even sit and eat dinner with their families and their other siblings. They take and make a plate, go in their room. But you're worrying about 16 million? Why don't you worry about us and we'll help worry about you? Because if we're not united, individually we fall.
That's right.
So we can either all stand together or we can just all fall together.
You can ask for that 16 million, you can ask for 8 million, you can ask for $1. We back that budget, friend. And if you ask me if I want my kid to play with a fancy little laptop on free time, or if I want him to go kick a can around your circle out there, I'm gonna tell you he's gonna kick that can.
And what about the $16 million for some of these parents that are struggling to make ends meet? If their kid needs a psychiatrist because he's so mentally screwed up, are you gonna put your hand in that 16 million? Go take care of Billy. Are you? No, you're not.
It's not that we're valuing 16.
You wanna know a number? 525. 525 is what I spent last month at the deepest plunge of my business on psychiatrists and therapists and medication. 525! That is more than my car payment to keep my children from having a panic attack. 525. I want you to say that number in the car on the way home. In fact, I want it to sound like a cheer crack. 525, 525. That is money that I cannot give back. My children are happy. We are a productive, positive, healthy home. We're not perfect. I'm old school, and I'm damn well tough. But I should not have to spend $525. Is that your problem? No. But your 16 million ain't mine either. So let's make it count.
So one of the things, no problem.
I could just tell you some of my thought process. That's all I could do is share. And so part of what we're trying here is to have a dialogue. We are all part of this same community. And so these are some of the reasons where I say, or some of the things that I try to evaluate for it, because I don't want to create a situation that's worse. One of the questions I have is, have you gone to the governor and expressed your points of view to the governor?
It's a chain of command, friend. We have to go to you first.
No, you
Yes,
don't.
yes, you
Choose to.
No, you don't.
Yes, you do.
Absolutely
Well,
not.
it would be great if you backed us.
I went to the
Hey, guys,
governor and the
guys,
governor
one at a
said,
time.
you need to call this meeting
Go ahead,
and
Jane.
put it into gear. How about that? Right? That doesn't make any sense, because you're gonna be like, the governor didn't say that. How do you? Listen, we're here to talk to you, to get you over here to go to the governor with us.
With us.
Otherwise, we're just going back and forth and
So you
playing
just want to
tennis.
collect that 16 million and us do the fighting?
No.
And you're just going to be like, hope it works out for them?
No, hold on, wait, could I just-
That is a manipulation of what I just, of what.
No, you're worried about,
Wait,
you're
could I-
giving me,
Could I explain? I'm sorry. It's not that we value the $16 million more than any one student or all the students. But there is an order that has the force of law that we have to follow. If we don't follow that, there can be consequences, and that's one of them. Now, I understand. I hear what you're saying. Everything I've heard is disturbing. I truly do. I have kids in school who have to wear masks. They don't like it either. I'm not unsympathetic, but we do have to follow the law, and there's hope that in a couple weeks.
but it's not a law.
It's not a law in the sense of both houses of the state legislature. It has the force of law.
You have other
That's
states,
great.
you have other states that did away with the mask.
I understand. but
Okay,
New
no,
York
no, no,
hasn't.
let me just interrupt you. You have other states that did away with the mask, okay? And there's no repercussion.
No.
What we're saying is, okay, we don't want to sit here and fight you. We want us not to be two sides. We want to be united and fight this fight together. This ain't about whether the school gets $5 million, $16 million, $20 million. We're not the ones that are bringing up dollar amounts, okay? But your dollar amount that you get don't help anybody here that their kid has to go see a shrink now.
That's right.
Or they got to take food, or not make the car payment, or we're going to be late on the mortgage or the homeowner's insurance. That 17 or 16 doesn't help any of this. We're not asking. We're telling you we want to be united. United, we can stick together and go to them yo-yo in New York and fight this.
In fact, we'll go to
Individually, we're all just going to drop. So you can tell us what you're going to need, 16, 17 million. It ain't helping us. Our kids are suffering. You getting that money and us just going, well, they need the money. And our kids are getting messed up in the head? Or their friends ain't their friends no more? Because now everybody's pushing them to have different beliefs and different feelings? But at the end of the day, it's okay if you guys get your money.
Can I say something? Can I say something, please?
Actually, can I?
Jim, you said you're sitting there not saying anything. We say something, and I'm getting attacked.
You're not getting
So
attacked.
help me here.
Pete.
Help us.
Pete. Hey, Pete. Grab a seat for a second for me.
Hey,
Thanks.
Jim, could I be brief?
Go
30
ahead.
seconds, thank
Go
you.
for it. Babe.
There's an order with the force of law. We can disagree whether that's true, but that's our understanding. We have to comply with that. There's a chance that the governor in a couple of weeks will lift the mandate and kick it down to the districts. It's a different conversation then. For now, I would love to sit down. I'll sit down and talk to anyone about how we can be united and work together. But I think for now, as long as there is an order out there that has the force of law we have to comply with, we have to comply with that. But I think that still leaves room to figure out how can we work together, like where's common ground that we can work together, and then separately, the impacts on the kids. I agree, that's concerning, and that's in some ways separate and apart from the mask could go away today. It's not going to get rid of the issues, and we still have to figure out how to deal with that. That's another conversation we can have. But just to understand, like in terms of getting rid of the masks, there is a legal requirement for us to follow now that hopefully, we can have a different conversation soon.
So how about we
Thank
ease
you,
up a
Jim,
little?
for
Thanks, guys. So we just covered a bunch of stuff, so I'll try to sift through it a little bit myself and see if that's helpful. What do I have to
You got to turn on the blue button.
All right, how's that? Oh, that's good. I'll give you a little space there. So one of the issues that I think is a little bit disturbing and where there's some people are kind of butting heads is, and it was just kind of voiced, but where are we starting? What's the starting point for this? So it makes total sense that it takes money to run everything. No money, things don't run. There's a lot of business owners here. And people are responsible for budgets of their own. But with any business plan or vision or whatever, you don't start with the limitations. You start with the ideal. You start with what's the mission, and hopefully it's one based on morals. If we're starting from a place of money and different things, then that's kind of not a super sensible place to start. I used an example. We were talking during the intermission. This is maybe an extreme example, but if the town had an opportunity if they just run over one person in the town, just one, run them over with the car, kill them dead, flat, just one, that would be, for some reason, sufficient would give us a chance to have all the money that we needed to run the town and allow people to live comfortably and to do the things they want to do. I would hope that most people would say, hey, no, we're not. It's never okay to run somebody over and kill them. For money, there's no price we can attach to that, right? We can't do that for money. Some might say, well, it's important. What about this program? What about that program? Save this life, save that life. It's just one. We'll just sacrifice one person. That's an extreme and maybe silly example, but it's not. Because we're talking about morality. We need to talk about morality for the kids. What's right? What's wrong? Where is the starting point?
what is essential to accomplish with the kids morally. Then we determine the budget. So this school in the 70s, maybe 74, is when it had the biggest population. This building wasn't here. There's all sorts of things that we've done that we supposedly need all this money for a population that's way smaller than the school at its peak. And I don't know what the teachers, administration, and the taxpayers are willing to sacrifice. But the thing is you know, that a lot of this is driven by the administration and you guys. So maybe there are things that the population is willing to give up. Maybe we're willing to give up 50% of the state funds, if that's truly what it is, that we would have to give up. I don't know. But let's not start at the number and say, okay, the price tag for morality is, the price tag, as long as it's less than 16 million or 5 million, then we can do something right for the kids or righteous for the kids. Like, we can't start there. And if there's not a process for us to communicate and engage with you, to speak frankly and to work through that, not just the budget, but for anything, then maybe that's something that we can leave with tonight to say, you know, if that's something you need to design or come up with to allow us to communicate with you in some better way, instead of just talking at you and then that's it. There's some better way to do that, then we need to do that. Because right now we're not able to work through the administration. You call the administration, you send a letter. Some people are really great. They call and they seem very much concerned for certain issues, for certain topics. But there's a lot of things that are going to stagnate pretty quick. And so what do? We don't have a way to work through the administrators or the principals or the superintendent or what have you. And we don't have a good way to communicate with you guys and to accomplish a lot in a short amount of time. Then what's the point? You know, it makes it difficult. Now, so maybe that's something you guys can consider. Some process and bring that and pitch that possibly. But the other thing is there does certainly seem to be, and I'm not an expert in these things, but from when you guys are talking, there definitely seems to be a bit of a knowledge gap. No offense, because I'm not an expert, but there definitely seems to be a knowledge gap in the things that you're saying.
Like what?
Like what? So we can't do this. Our hands are tied here. We would lose this. We would lose that. We don't have the ability to make those decisions. That comes down from the state. The bottom line is that these things are all doable. Massapequa School, they were able to.
I read that, Jim. I read that, Jim. You know what they voted on? They created a.
So you're allowed to talk to me now?
I'm going to talk to you.
I'm just asking. Okay.
You know what? We're going to do this. This is why we don't talk, because we want to listen.
I apologize if I was insulted.
I read that proclamation that they made. You know what basically they said was, at the end, I'm going to give you a scenario, okay? They said at the end of a baseball game, the game's over. They basically said that when the mandate ends, then we're going to allow people to have choice. They never said anything about if the governor updates the mandate, what they're going to do. So it was really a feel-good thing, as far as my understanding. You talked about a starting point. I think the starting point needs to be tonight is, do we think that the mandate is a law, or do we think it's not? Our understanding is it is a law that we have to follow. The other starting point is you really have to understand, I don't think there's a teacher, and first of all, I want to address that young lady. If what she said tonight and shared with us, I was a teacher for 35 years, I feel horrible. But that's the first we've heard of it. It's the first I heard it. So to expect...
But that's a concern, that there's not some process to put that in front of you guys. If you're relying solely on the administration to do these things, is at any point there a check? And the point is that we are coming here today, so maybe we as a public have to be more involved too in coming to these meetings.
Absolutely.
So that makes total sense, but is Is that what you want? Is that what you want to hear? And what happens after that?
Just so you know,
Well, I wasn't done with my thoughts, but.
just so you know, to be really quick in your defense, there was a letter sent to the school on the behalf of those students that were affected. There was a formal letter, and it is unfortunate that due diligence has not been passed on to you so that you are informed about the district that you're here to represent. So I apologize because that makes me sad for you. But I am putting you on alert that formally, there was a complaint filed. And you certainly should have been notified.
Can I give you another example as far as the mandate goes? Because you believe one way, I believe another way. And the other thing is, folks, there's a whole bunch of people that aren't here tonight at all, right? There's people that believe in masks, people that want to wear masks, people that don't want to wear masks. They're not here. We represent 5,000 people in this community, 1,100 kids, almost 300 employees. So that's a lot of representation we have to do and we have to consider. Young lady, I appreciate your comments today, I really do. And I know what it took to come here and say those things. Because I know you have to come back into this school tomorrow.
I have to come back into the school tomorrow, and that's true because
you want
I
an
have
education.
grades, and that I do keep up every day.
And if your mom's right and you are an honor student and you're doing well, that's phenomenal, that's great. But can I speak to Jim, because I want to finish my scenario with him. Maybe you suffer the same thing, Jim. You go down 32, you started, I hate this, right? You start at Shepherd Farm, all of a sudden it goes to 45. I have no idea. That probably dates back to when the resorts were packed, right? You got to go down to 45 miles an hour. Do you think this town, we could all go to the town board and say, you know what? Screw the state. We want that speed limit to change to 65. We want to go through town 65 miles an hour. You think that's possible? You think the town could?
No, that's a bit of a process, but because it's a state process. But here's the thing, guys. Here's the thing. We're not talking about someone saying, hey, we get pizza every Friday. It's a little too hot. The sauce isn't right. We want to change it. We're talking about something severe. We're not talking about saying, hey, we have a school policy on the length of hair, and this year we're going to make it a little shorter, this year we're going to make it a little longer. We have a dress policy where we have skirts a certain length, we're going to make it a little longer, a little shorter, something like that. We have kids. Every one of these kids is made unique by God. Every person's face is their most outward, unique expression from God. When you cover that face, you're making every kid homogeneous. Every kid is the stone. Tower of Babel story. Every kid becomes an interchangeable brick. They're no longer a unique stone that stacks and is held together by the forces of God. It's held together by matter, materialism. It's not held. It's held together by whatever cockamamie thing that someone conjures up. They're all interchangeable now. Everybody's interchangeable. Everyone's replaceable. No one has any unique meaning. We're not talking here about speed limit. We're not talking about when I come over, if I don't follow the rule, and I go over that yellow line, everybody knows and has seen a car smashed together. Everybody knows that that's death. You don't have to make a sales pitch about that. We're talking about invisible stuff here. We're talking about stuff that's made up in some way. We're talking about a serious biblical thing. This isn't just speed limit, no offense. I know you're making an analogy, no analogy is perfect. But this is a big deal.
I agree.
And you brought up licensing, you brought up some different things, you brought up money, you brought up these different things. What licensing? What is someone gonna really, and you talk about there's a mandate, listen, you guys are in a tough situation. Because you have to become lawyers, you have to understand this and that. There's a ton of knowledge and education that you have to do every time one of these things come up to try to make a good, good vote or a good decision. But there are principles that we live our life on. There's first principles and there's second principles and so on. Declaration of Independence, Constitution, all that stuff. that Constitution was based on a set of inalienable rights and grievances that were brought up where there are certain things that people don't have the right to do. You guys, I would hope, I would imagine that you guys made an oath, you took an oath, that oath was brought up. As far as I know, the district is in fact almost like a township. It has a government, it's a legislative body, you guys take an oath. You've taken an oath to the Constitution. If you have done that, right, that Constitution, that supersedes anything that comes out of it after that. If there's anything, I'll try to give you an example. If the legislative body of the federal government makes a law, an actual law, it passes, majority vote, goes through the Senate, goes through Congress, goes through the whole House, everything, makes its way to the president. President looks at it, he has the chance to sign it or veto it. If it had overwhelming support, 100 senators voted for it, the whole Congress, 495 people voted for it, if he thinks that that law is unconstitutional, he morally, and according to his oath, cannot sign that. It has overwhelming support. Everyone in the community is behind it, but he's the representative. If he signs that, he is morally wrong, he's breaking his oath. You guys took an oath, and I'm not saying you guys take it lightly, but we can throw a million things. Don't take our, listen, if we're being emotional and throwing stuff at you, or if the governor's throwing stuff at you, you have an obligation to the Constitution. We have sheriffs here tonight. We have sheriffs in the community. I'm pumped that, by the way, everybody, the sheriffs were amazing today.
Yeah, they were.
Super respectful. When we were protesting. Their last line of defense. The governor can say whatever he wants. The legislature can vote in whatever they want. But each of those individuals and their captain, they have to make a decision. Am I going to enforce something that is unconstitutional? They have to also try to be lawyers and understand these things. They have to make that decision. I'm not saying that your position and the decisions that you have to make are easy. And I'm not saying that the things that the administrators have to do are easy. But there are first principles, and the rest is noise. You have to start at the first. We don't have to do anything. But according to your oath, we need to start at the first principles. We need to work out from that. That's the place to start. This is a moral, a theological, a biblical, and your word. And I know it might seem confusing, and I know it might be, oh, this, that, or whatever else, this mandate, that. We have to look at the definitions of things. What is a mandate? It's not a law. Well, it has the power of the law, the weight of the law. Well, no, it doesn't. It's a mandate. And you guys might not think that you guys have it. You might think you have less power than you do.
Right.
You guys have more power, I think, than you realize.
Yes.
The issue with that, though, when you have that power, obviously you have a great responsibility, but the thing is you also have a chance for more liability. It's a difficult thing. I own a business. I employ people. The second I start my business and I employ people, my liability goes through the roof. I'm responsible for all the actions of these people and everything else. It goes crazy. It's a difficult thing, but every day you have more liability, you have more chances of getting sued, more chances of making a mistake. That is definitely the case. Your liability has gone up significantly when you took this position. You have an obligation to this Constitution and the oath that you took. Even other people that are putting pressure on, just like, no offense, gentlemen, but when the principals came out today and they're in the faces of these young people and they're trying to make them make a choice about their morality and what they think is right and where they should go, if they should stand or not, they feel the pressure of that person looking down over top of them. You might feel that same pressure from the governor, other people, or people in the community. That's the difficult thing about representative government. You guys are representatives, and that is not an easy thing, but you still have to base your decisions on that oath and your first principles. And if you guys are getting pressure from on high, and you're saying your hands are tied, you might want to think about that more, because you have a liability here. These people, and I'm not saying this as a threat, I'm just saying this as just a point to consider. Just like me with my business, I take a chance that I can get sued by all sorts of people when I have guys working and they can make whatever mistakes they make. I'm taking this huge liability that I'm gonna get sued every day, and I have insurance for that and everything else. Every one of these people can come at you. Every one of these people that feel victimized can come after every single one of you. So I know the budget is a concern. It makes sense. You need the budget for the best interest of the kids. You need some money to build the best programs and to deliver. You guys are on the hook, and I don't know if you realize that. You think that possibly, I'm putting words in your mouth, but by me following these rules, by me doing the mandate, I'm looking out for the best interests of the school. It might seem that way on the surface. It might seem that way, and that's what's being sold to you. But it's not the case. And even though you might not see that as many states, or you see that in as many other schools, start looking, because people are starting to wake up. We haven't done, and you guys might be different, but at least I would say toward the end of my schooling, and I would say most of the schooling after that, we looked at the textbooks, we've seen what the programs are. The kids aren't learning civics. They're not learning logic. They're not being taken through those kind of things. And we have a culture that's not how it works. They don't think about things that way, in general. They're throwing a lot of emotional things, and there's a lot of misinformation out there. We have some misinformation too. I'm sure there's things that you guys have exposure to we have no idea about. But you guys are the ones on the hook. I really am saying this. I'm saying this out of love. I sent an email to the school the other day. It probably wasn't received the best. I was being very critical. But I say it out of love. Every single person is going to have to give an accounting for what they do in this life at their last days. They're going to have to give an accounting. I'm not saying that you guys are doing anything wrong or not wrong, but we're all going to be judged on the same scale. You start worrying about mandates, this and that, and government and everything else, you might want to return to those first principles. You might want to keep that in mind. We're judged on the fruits of our merits. If we do something that we think is virtuous, and we're ignorant of something, but it is incorrect, we still get judged. Maybe not as harshly, but we still get judged. We have to be concerned about those first principles. And all these kids, you're in a difficult situation. But let me say this, and I'll wrap it up. As difficult as all this sounds, you guys, while it might be difficult to do, and you might get pressure, and there will be pressure on you guys. I'm using some religious stuff, maybe the people don't want to hear, but Satan's real. He's going to be on you. He's going to try to divide us. He's going to attack our families. Every single person like me that might be standing up, my family will be attacked. If not from anyone here, it will be attacked. Your families will be attacked. That's. If you haven't experienced that, you haven't put yourself out there. Sorry. You guys, with that said, do have a chance to be heroes. Right. You guys can be the leaders that the community needs and other schools need to see. If your administrators are not giving you the best information, you got to consider that. Maybe you got to go other places. Maybe there's people in the community that want to help you, want to reach out and help. I know there is. I've got emails here and things of people that really do want to be available to you, and in a very peaceful way. But you guys can be leaders. I have some opportunity to work with some youth. I'm very blessed. There's some kids that go to Greenville school that are really amazing, and I think they're going to be huge leaders. One of them is Hunter, that he's so concerned about being respectful to you guys, he won't even come up to speak until you officially open the meeting. He's an amazing, amazing young guy. And there's some other people like that. There's a lot of kids like that. There's some amazing people, and they can be leaders. But the bottom line is that I don't see a lot of men. It's awesome. We do have some men here tonight, but most of the people that I'm seeing are women, which is awesome. It's awesome. But we don't see a lot of people standing up and being leaders, men and women together. I see a lot of lackluster men out there, and that's a bummer, and that's one of the things that we're trying to do. I see a lot of women standing up, which is great, but I don't see a lot of men standing up. Why? Where are the men that are leading them? You know, it's the same thing. People don't see good examples. They don't want to be leaders. What's the point of being a leader? Everyone's going to yell at you. You guys got to be, you guys can be the strongest men and the strongest women and be awesome examples for these kids and us. If you need help from people, reach out to us. Reach out. You're in a difficult situation, but you can be heroes. And there are other people that are going to follow you. You're going to get a ton of resistance. You're going to be attacked. But you got to stand up. Look at the situation. Listen to these things that went on today. It's not going to get any better. In fact, it's probably going to get a lot worse. But John Quincy Adams said that duty is ours, outcomes are for God. You can't worry about the outcome every time. You gotta follow your duty and what God calls you to do. And don't worry about, I'm not saying it's easy to do, but you can't worry about a mandate or this or that. If you are, find out if it's really law. Find out if it's really constitutional. And it doesn't matter what the weight is. There's right and it's wrong. You guys are in a difficult spot. I don't envy you. It's a difficult thing. I apologize for talking so long, but this is huge. This is a huge thing. This is way beyond a board meeting. This is way, those masks on your faces, on those kids' faces, are so, it's a metaphor and a representation of something so evil and so wrong that we've been so blind to. And the interesting thing about it is that we as a people volunteered. It's the same as the Tower of Babel. Let's make bricks. Yeah. Let's invest in the technology of the day. Let's all get behind it. They weren't completely coerced, maybe a little. You know, maybe the media and the king got in there a little bit. But they jumped. They thought they were being virtuous. They thought they were doing the best thing. This is the best thing for the community. Build the tower. Show our intellectual amazingness. Look at how awesome we are. We can do this. We're going to do it for each other. We're going to protect each other. We're going to build the best thing ever in our own power. You guys got to stop that. You guys got to stop. Take off the mask. You have to. None of these kids are ever going to be able to grow. They're never going to be able to express themselves. They're not going to be able to develop. This is a real thing. This mask is a precursor to some really bad stuff. It's a precursor to a lot of bad things. Maybe I'm preaching to the choir. Maybe you think I'm extreme. I don't think that's the case. Really, I'm telling you, please dig down, do some research. There are some people that know about this stuff a lot better than I do, and they will give you the info or help you get to the right places. You guys can be heroes. You guys can set it off. We need to pray for you. I've been praying for you guys. I hope others have too. I've been praying that you guys have strength and you guys can make good decisions, that your hearts are softened, that God enters in and gives you direction. And we have to do the same thing for ourselves. I said, I know that not all of us are as articulate as we should be, or maybe as polite as we should be, so we need to do that. I know a lot of us are on the same page as you as far as wanting to do the best thing. So apologize if some of the stuff doesn't really make sense or it's out of left field, but that's how I think a lot of people feel. This thing on your face, it corrupts the mind. It means way more. It's evil. It's evil to cover a child's face. That's evil. It's evil. You gotta remember that. God bless you guys. I don't envy you.
Thank
Here
you.
for you.
Jim, I believe you wanted to say something? Different Jim.
Sir.
Good.
Mr. Good.
We have two board members that are virtual. Go ahead.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I apologize for those in the audience for not being there tonight. I personally am positive for COVID, so the reason why I'm not there is, I should be done with my quarantine, but in another day. But what's very important, I can see you, Jim. I've listened to Pete. I know a lot of you in the audience, the Flannerys, and my heart goes out to the young students. All this is very important, and I just want to communicate that we're in a very unique place and time. I'm new on board, so I just want to kind of settle things so we can have a working platform that we work together with the community, and we represent the community on the school board, my experience with the people on the school board, is they're all very dedicated for ultimately is the best possible education for our children. With that being said, I've done many other things in the community, but this pandemic and the reaction not only on the government, it's been inconsistent, it's been changing due to the effects and the first line defense, and it's very frustrating. So it's like a liquid thing that's constantly changing, which as in this place, as a school board, you know, it's clear that everyone's frustrated. It's affecting not only primarily with the mask, but it's affecting people's school experience, which nobody wants that to have a negative impact. And so I just wanted to express to you that I understand we have certain mandates. We've been talking about laws and everything else tonight, but the bottom line is nobody's trying to hide behind something. But I'll speak for myself. My opinion is on the school board, nobody's trying to hide behind something saying our hands are tied or this, and maybe that's the wrong approach. However, because of the situation on the government, on the way things are, it's not as transparent, but there are certain limitations. However, what I see tonight is this dialogue. You know, I know Jay Goodman and I both said that our current board meetings don't have the opportunity to where you can have two-way dialogue or communication, that maybe this is something that we need to start happening a little bit more often, that you have a group of people and we're just there brainstorming for what's best for our kids in the situation. So I understand everything gets heated. I just want everyone to know, and you know, my opinion as well, I'm sorry I can't be there. However, my main goal is to make sure that everyone in the community is heard, that we work together. Some things that I'm hearing tonight is, that's the first time I've heard from that nice young student that had the courage in order to speak up. These things should be easier. For some reason we're missing the connections there, but maybe we can learn from this tonight and all grow from this and not be against each other. And let's work together, maybe have a subcommittee, a family community committee, that we have a teams to communicate back and forth. Because we're not against the community, the needs, or what you're asking for your children. We have certain things in place that we have to comply by because we're a publicly funded school. But as we move forward, I just want everyone to kind of work together and not leave here being, how do I say, diverse. We don't need any more diversity. We have a great school. This pandemic is causing a lot of issues. So let's try to conquer this collectively together and not pointing blame. Let's try to have some open dialogue and know we're working together. And also, I know I've read a lot of the emails and I know certain things we can improve upon. And that's from the community and that's from the school board. Nobody's perfect. Nobody should be communicating to place blame on a student, whether they're vaccinated or unvaccinated. That's not, and hopefully that's not the case. But
it's
apparently,
happening in our schools, so what are we gonna do
what
about
I'm saying is apparently it has happened. So what I would like to say is that I don't think that's the intention. So we can always, because of this frustration, get this information and try to reassess and get things back together to where we're communicating the right way for our children. Okay? So that's my input. I respect everyone being emotional, but let's try to work together. And that's the whole reason. I know I'm new on the school board. I need to learn more. But we together, I really have a lot of faith in the members of the school board that they're here for what's best for our children. And that's one of the reasons why I give so much time for it. So, and I thank you guys very much.
Thanks, Jim. I think, Duncan, did you also want to say something?
Yeah, I'm just not going to repeat many of the sentiments that Jim just spoke to. I share most of them, if not all of them. I too would like to apologize for not being there in person. I mentioned earlier there's COVID in the house, and respecting keeping distances and trying to make sure that it doesn't spread here or anywhere else. But on a different note, this will be the last meeting of our superintendent. Before we have another scheduled board meeting, we will have a new superintendent. And it's really with a sad heart to see Tammy leaving with such an environment as we're witnessing today. And I don't mean that as a negative to anybody. I mean just the whole thing, the pandemic, what it's done to individuals, what it's done to the community. Tammy deserves better than that. And there's a number of people still there, I believe. I don't know how many. But whether you agree with everything she's done, I think we all owe her a sign of gratitude. And let me be the first to say, Tammy, all the best in your retirement, and don't be a stranger. And please, those in the audience, please recognize Tammy for all she's done over these last 30 years.
Can I say one thing? If everyone's interested, if everyone feels like they went through the process that they need to, are we willing, some of us unmasked people, to leave? And would you guys be willing to open the meeting for Hunter to speak so he can do that officially on good terms? Is anybody, and then I'm willing to leave if you guys are.
I just want to say one thing, and I agree. No, wait a minute.
Let Hunter go up there, please.
One thing.
Please,
Yeah.
no.
He said that we gotta work together. And why can't we work together, like a baby step? If you see the kid in the hall and he's got his mask down a little bit, just let it go. Or joke with him. Hey, come on, you know you gotta pick it up. Give him a little break. We'll all work together. We don't believe it. Okay.
Thanks.
Sorry.
No problem. That's
Okay.
awesome. So, good evening. I'm going to try and not be angry at all, and I know I'm not. I'm going to be as respectful as possible. And because I do respect you all as a board, and I respect you, Ms. Sutherland, for what you've done for the school, and I really do appreciate it. But then again, as it is a board meeting, I'm just going to bring some things, as I knew today would be a night where people are bringing issues that they've seen during the time of COVID. So I figured I'd join in. My issues that I'm going to talk about don't necessarily align perfectly. I'm not here to talk about getting rid of the masks, set aside my personal feelings towards them. But I'm going to talk about just an issue that I saw pretty recently in a letter that Questar sent to the parents. And when I read this letter, I found myself hung up on a certain paragraph, and I'll read it. I have it quoted here. On behalf of our region superintendents, I am recommending the following steps to help transition our focus of schools away from COVID distractions and restrictions and back to our core mission of educating students. So my issue with that paragraph is not the fact that the schools want to focus on educating students. That's really a given. It's the fact that there's an admission there that for however long, and I don't know, the focus in the schools has not been on education. It's been on something different. And when I read that, I mean, I'd love to hear it explained differently to me. That's just what I read and how I took it, like first, just coming in. And I really think that needs a little bit of explaining, but it was also a little disheartening to me to hear that schools around the state, not just this one, but that the focus has not been on educating the students. I just found it troubling. That's all. No disrespect. I found it troubling. So as I read that statement, a few things that just came to mind. I have two things. When I read that, I just thought I could kind of feel for the statement. It was kind of what I used to back up my thinking, in a way. In one of my classes this year, it was brought up that this time of year we'd be doing different activities, not just different activities, but more fun and interactive activities, as you would expect in a year without COVID. So, but instead, we were going to be doing more boring regular notes, and the teacher admitted that it wouldn't be as fun. I'm not going to say any names, but the teacher said that this year is not going to be as, I guess you could use the word fun, but I hear there, and it's not going to be the same as what it once was. And I just see there COVID taking over education. And that was saddening, because I'm sitting there and I'm like, so you're telling me that now my quality of education is now lessened due to COVID, and the focus is not on education, it's on COVID. My second one is about quarantine. So my first point there was about how I've been affected by COVID in the classroom, I guess. And then my second point is about the quarantines. I have been quarantined 4 times this year, totaling about 30 days. There's someone in the audience who's been quarantined a lot more. It makes my record look small. But I think Aiden's been has 8 times he's been quarantined. But it's an issue, and I know it's an issue that's kind of come to pass with the ability now to test out of the quarantines. And it's something I really do appreciate, and something that the board and the community has really pushed for. And I really do appreciate that, because I missed a lot of school. And I just go more in depth with it. So that's about a month. I believe 2 times I was out for 10 days, so that was earlier on. And then 2 times it was like 5 days, so it totals about 30 days. It is provable that school from home, not homeschool, but school like remote learning, does not provide the same quality of education as in-person learning, as I think we can all agree with. I think we can all agree, whether you're a parent, administrator, that board member, that when you're in school, you learn a lot better than when you're out of school. That's just the way it is. So I see there that for me being unvaccinated, I'll share that, for me being unvaccinated, I have now received a lesser quality of education. I don't necessarily appreciate that. I'm not blaming you, but I'm blaming powers a little higher up, I guess the state. And I guess an example of this that just came to mind, there's a little bit of truth to it, but it's more hypothetical. So when I come back from Questar, and I go and I sit at the lunch table for 15 minutes, and the person across from me comes down with COVID. And this was past when the quarantines were happening. 15 minutes is, if I'm not mistaken, all it took for me to be quarantined. I'm going to add that all 4 times I was quarantined, I never got COVID. But those 15 minutes is all it would take, and I'd then have to sacrifice 5 days, 10 days of quality education. Whereas a vaccinated person could sit next to that person who got it for all 6 hours and 45 minutes of the school day and not have to suffer the same consequences. And even after this COVID variant, the current one that's most prevalent, has proven that it can affect vaccinated people too. Maybe not the same level, but it can, and it happens, and I've seen it. It may not be empirical data, but I've seen enough anecdotal evidence that a lot of vaccinated people in the school have gotten COVID. And a lot of unvaccinated people in the school have gotten COVID. And yet, I'm being punished. So, I just see a lack of logic there. That's all. And just to reiterate this is my final paragraph. I'm not blaming you, the board, for the policies created by the state. And I'm very, very, very fortunate, and I do appreciate you still allowing us to do things with like the FFA, for example, going on those trips. Those really do mean a lot to the students. So I'm not up here to say that you're doing everything wrong, bad job. No, like there's some really good things that you have done, and I appreciate that coming from a student perspective. Like the Nationals trip, and I came up here and spoke about that. That was a truly great trip, and it's good to do that again. But I am going to ask what a lot of the parents have been asking, and that's that, well, we need to, as the students and the parents, we need to bring our complaints to the state. We do. We need to bring it to the governor. If we have complaints, we need to bring it to the governor. We've got to bring it to the top. You do. But I am also going to ask, as a student from Greenville, that the board fights alongside the parents.
That's right.
I'm going to ask that the board, whether it be petition the state, do whatever, I'm not asking you to go and lose your funding. Like, I'm not asking you to do something wild like that. I'm asking you to fight with us, fight with the parents, fight with the students, and just hold the state accountable. Because right now New York State is getting away, quite frankly, they're getting away with harming the quality of education for many of the students here in Greenville. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Hunter.
Thank you.
I mean, how do you go after that?
We don't. My one question is, so moving forward, are these, so these are public meetings, or how does this?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that being a public meeting, do they have to take place in the school? Or, I'm saying moving forward, we didn't record anything tonight, I don't believe, aside from the camera, but it wasn't an official meeting, right? Because we didn't put masks on.
It was on YouTube. A dialogue.
It was a
It
dialogue.
is recorded,
Yep.
yes.
So at the end of the meeting, we were starting to get some feedback from you guys just from past conversations. But moving forward, if we come to the next meeting, we do not have masks on and the mandate is still in place, is it going to be the same atmosphere again? Or are you going to be able to engage, start the meeting, have a normal meeting? Or if that's like just the school's rules, or if we rent the library or something like that, where it's not required? Because technically, we didn't have a meeting tonight. We had parents.
We had a dialogue.
Dialogue, yes, yeah, I get what you're saying.
Right.
Here, what I'm saying is that, are we gonna be able to actually have a meeting if the mandate is still in place? And you didn't start the meeting at all? You just had
No,
dialogue?
I would like to find some common ground.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's what I'm
personally,
asking.
He's
so
asking, is there another
I'm-
location that we can? do
Right,
that?
I'm open to being creative, but, I'm one of multiple, and
I think actually, you bring up a great point, and the mom in the back brought up a great point. I think the next conversation we need to have actually is, I think eventually, in the near future, Hunter, first of all, you took me on my advice, and I told you to keep speaking publicly. You did a great job again. I think that the governor's gonna do something with this soon. I don't know what soon means to you, what soon means to me. I think the discussion we need to have as a board is, what are we going to do? Are we gonna do no mask, are we gonna do mask optional, are we gonna do what we're doing now? The input we've gotten tonight is one side, right? And you have got to understand, I know you're all intelligent, so I know you do understand that the other side is gonna share their points of view with us as well.
Right. They deserve it.
Wholeheartedly. So that's where I think that eventually we're gonna have to decide what we're gonna do. So those discussions are gonna, and I certainly plan on being transparent about that, because it will come about anyway.
And I think, we hear the question. I don't know that we can answer you right now. We
No,
have
it's
talked
fine.
about
I'm
it.
not looking for any, I'm just saying, hopefully in the next week or two, depending on what the governor decides, the way the state should go. If it goes beyond 2 weeks or 3 weeks, obviously, there's gonna be another board meeting, once every month, we do one of these, right? Or,
Well, on the schedule now, I think March 7th is a meeting to talk about the next part of the budget. And then
Okay.
the next business meeting like we're supposed to have tonight is the 14th, March 14th.
Yeah, I'm just saying, based on past experience of what's been going on, is like, we were gonna end it this day, we extended it, yada, 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 you have no control over that. Just saying, if that's the case, and there's other people that, obviously, we feel comfortable being here without masks, and I think a lot more people would come if there wasn't a mask mandate and engage in these meetings. So I'm saying, if it goes past another month, which I anticipate it going, if we could have a backup plan where we can all have a real meeting. So without making.
As a community.
Yes. Right. That's my only 2 cents. So.
Because when everything at the end of the day happens, that's what we are.
So can I ask a question?
Sure.
And I want your honest answers too, so be kind and gentle with me. When we started, hours ago, a large group of you came in wearing masks because you were going to participate, and you took them all off. And if you wanted to participate, you could have had the masks on, and we could have had the meeting at 6, and that would have been your small contribution, was a mask. I know this was to make a point, and you were coming without masks, but if we do it again next time, and the mandate's still there, and you want to participate, wear it for an hour.
Can I say something?
I'm not caving, man.
Some people.
That's a moral issue.
That's
no moral.
Some people
I understand.
go with it, right?
I
haven't worn a mask through this whole thing. I don't believe in it. I think if people are way overstep the mandate and what I put on my face. So therefore, I don't wear it. Right? I don't wear it for you. I don't wear it for anyone. That's my personal opinion. Some people don't want to be disrespectful when they want to wear it. The point of me coming here and sitting without a mask is the point. I stood with those kids outside and froze my ass off all day long without a mask on. I'm not going to put a mask on to appease you. I'm not going to do it.
I hear you. You're not appeasing me.
And if everyone in
It's
here
just what
said,
we need to
listen, we
do.
want to have our meeting, could you step outside? I would respectfully step outside and let this meeting take place. I actually texted him when I was here and said, listen, I will leave so Hunter and everyone can say what they have to say so this meeting will take place.
So, in March, it may not be an issue. Okay. I guess we wait and
I think a
see.
neutral setting outside
Yes.
of the school makes a lot more people
Just
feel
in case.
invited and not as uncomfortable. I think that because the topics are school-based and because it's so emotional about only our children and what our concerns are, removing us from a building, whether I have a mask on right now or not, this building right now sets off bad vibes for me. I think making it a community event versus not just a school event would invite a lot more people, even probably people who don't have kids but still pay your school taxes here. They're still part of our community. And so we need to take this conversation, if it really means something, outside of this building. Because this building right now, as much as we've all tried to fight it, has created a really stinky, ugly environment. And we could get a lot more accomplished if we didn't have all of that funk rolling around us. And I think there's a lot of people that would like to come out.
Do you think that you might be able to look at some of those things for your next meeting that's more of a budget issue, that would be able to make a statement at least on where you sit with those things, with some of the mass stuff potentially, so then for the more open style meeting like this, that you might have some feedback from you guys as to what is it possible to make a statement at your next meeting about how these open meetings would go, as more business oriented?
I'm not following.
Yeah.
No problem. I thought you said that the upcoming meeting would be something that was more, really not anything to do with hearing the people. It would be more focused on numbers and the budgets and things like that we don't really have input
That's
on.
February 28th, so I think what we were talking about would be then having either a workshop or something whereby we could have a dialogue. So I think we're saying two separate things. We've got the business meeting, we've got the budget meeting, but then there's a need to have something. If the weather were nice, we could do it at the gazebo and just talk. I mean, if that's what I'm understanding.
And you know something, believe it or not, when you all sat up there and you started the meeting the way that you did, truth be told, you ended up having a meeting and you didn't even know it.
Oh, no, we got 2 hours worth of meeting to go after that.
Because what us parents wanted out of it was exactly the conversation and dialogue and the respect and the listening ears that you guys have gave us. Now, you might not have talked about tonight what you felt you needed to talk about, but you started not wanting to talk at all, and you have been talking. And that's all we've ever wanted. We just want everyone to feel safe, and like we can talk, and it's safe to disagree. And how do we move forward? We don't have to have an official meeting to figure that out. Jesus, we learned that in kindergarten. So believe it or not, whether you want to officially say it, you did have a meeting with parents tonight. And so for that, thank you, because you could have left. And
A lot of
that's
schools did. A lot of schools got up and walked out. I give you that credit. They got up and walked out. Took a 10-minute break and came back. A lot of schools didn't come back.
Thank you.
I have one
Jim
suggestion.
wanted to say something different, Jim. Board member, Jim, did you raise your hand? You were making a motion as if you wanted to say something.
Oh, no, I appreciate it. I agree. I appreciate being on the board that the board did say. I also understand that this does not constitute a meeting. There's still a lot more work for the board. But for the people that did take the time to come into from the community, I think it's important to give them the time. But also, we all need to understand, even though we're emotional, that we have to show each other respect. And I respect all of you and the board. And with that, then I think improvements can be made. So, thank you.
I don't think any of us would want to ever dishonor our children and set the wrong example after being here tonight and watching them freeze in 15-degree weather with hot cocos. I don't think any of us would want to dishonor that and throw that away.
I have a suggestion I think you can implement right away that would show the kids that you really are on their sides. And it actually goes along with inclusivity and no place for bullying and a lot of the other things that you guys already institute here. Which is, there should be a zero tolerance policy in regards to vaccine discrimination, mass discrimination, basically human liberty discrimination. I think that should be stuff sent to the principal's office, the same way you're ready to send somebody with a mask below their nose, okay? There's no place for that. That's just educated bullying, okay? Same thing as bullying. So I think that's something that would show the students immediately that you guys do care about them and do respect their personal medical health decisions.
And start rewiring your teachers to get back to the positive. And so when things start getting off course and things start working towards COVID and wearing your mask this way or other kids feel discriminated against, train your teachers to walk around with a happy face and be like, hey, COVID-free zone, fellas. Let's get back to education, smile, and get back to what's important. We've got to remind our kids to get away from this.
This country was founded on debate, okay?
Right.
Debate. And it's not, there's no one person's opinion is any less or worse than someone else's. And the way that we've become a great country is by, we don't do it as much now, but listening to all the people together and coming up with the right choice that works for everybody. And that's inclusivity. It's not, you don't believe in vaccines, you're wrong. You believe in vaccines, you're right. There's no righteous fighter. Let these kids have an honest, open debate and respect us as parents when it comes to medical decisions for our children. You're not going to decide for them medically what's right for them. We are. We brought them into this world. Your job is strictly to educate them, reading, writing, and arithmetic. They don't need your political views. They don't need your opinions about mandates and vaccines and all this other stuff. Let's stick to the script. Let us control their health and well-being. You control their education. And just open up the dialogue. Let them all talk as human beings, because that's how anything worthwhile has ever been accomplished in this country.
I saw so many times where you guys had, you had called all the students into the auditorium and you talked about positive messages, or you had somebody come in. I have attended so many and countless times to see that. Just because COVID is here, and just because there's mandates or differences of opinion, does not mean that you cannot go into that auditorium with your students and tell them it's gonna be okay. We don't know what's gonna happen, but we respect you. Ask them how they feel. Let them tell you. Teach them it's okay to say how they feel. And let other students listen. Just like we had to do tonight. Even though it got heated, we had to step back and let somebody talk and we had to cool down. That's awesome. That's what being a human being is about. That's what living in the United States of America and being a free citizen is about. Talk to them. Let them know. They don't know who you all are. They don't see you the way we see you. Sit down. Ask them. If the governor says we can't take these masks off, how do you feel? What do you want us to do to help you? Because at the end of the day, you could tell them to go to the governor, you could tell them to go to the principal, you could tell them to go to the president. They're looking at all of us to help them. We're their last chance. That's it. And you know what? I would rather you sit up there and talk to my kids in an auditorium and let them know that we understand your hearts. We may not win this battle, but we damn well will fight. That's all we need from you. We don't need a miracle. We just want our kids to know that their school district thinks they're important. I don't care if you think I'm important. I don't care if you think she's important. She's the one that I have to cheer on every day and feel like a liar to my own kids and say, hey kid, today's a new day. You got it. And I send them out, they come back broken, beat up and abused. They don't come back any different than you. You come back beat up, broken, abused. You read emails and you're broken and abused and a piece of you is missing and you're leaving on after 30 years and you're leaving broken and abused and we're all broken and abused. Well, please stop asking me to lie to my kids because it may not be okay. So who's gonna stick together? It's just us, sitting in this room.
You know, the shame of it is, if this culture didn't have so much silencing and censoring and this and that, this robust debate would have been happening the whole time, and we probably would have been long done with these ridiculous mass mandates. But anytime somebody has a difference of opinion that doesn't quite fit into the narrative, what's the instant reaction?
Shut it down.
Block from Facebook, censor misinformation. Misinformation, now they even have a new word for it. It's not misinformation, but it's something else to the effect that, you know, who's to know what misinformation is? Your misinformation may not be my misinformation. And you want to know what real, true, robust debate is about? Backing it all up with facts. The facts are misinformation now. We're in a twilight zone here.
Yes.
Okay? Actual medical doctors that come out and try and do the right thing for their patients and save their lives are being canceled. They're being fired. Do you mean to tell me that's how we came up with every medical revolution over the last however many decades? No. It's because there's differences of opinion. And somebody thinks they should attack the virus in a different way than somebody else does. They have a different idea. Who's to say who's wrong? Let's work together, meld the ideas, find some common ground, and back it all up with facts. And the facts here lead to the masks don't work.
And to touch on that, the solution to that is freedom of choice. His information that he believes may be different than mine, it may be different than yours, but at the end of the day, if we just give the option of freedom to choice and support each other with our individual choice, this all goes away. Because we'll learn to respect those who choose to wear the mask. Those of us won't feel shame who don't. It'll be a difficult road and it is not going to be perfect because we have to rewire all these kids and ourselves. But it's a start.
Why don't we just show the kids that, you know, we all care about them, you know, instead of yelling at them, pull up your mask, pull up your mask. You guys want us to understand your point of view? Understand these kids have had enough. Instead of yelling at the kid, how many times did I tell you to pull up your mask? Say hello to them, say good morning. Back off a little bit. And then half these kids will probably still wear the damn thing. A little bit, give them back.
Yeah.
Just a little bit. I'm not saying if you see it around his neck, you know, hey, good morning, Bill, do me a favor, just get it up a little bit.
Just how many times
Give
did
him a little
Hunter's
hello.
mask fall below his
Yeah, he
nose?
was trying.
Right? It's very hard
Yeah,
to
he was
keep a
just up there
mask
talking and it was
in
falling.
place when you're learning and interacting with students and groups, everything. It's a little extreme when we're duct taping, when we're, you know, saying babies are gonna die because we're not wearing our masks. When my kid is like a scared dog, if his, you know, when you like go to touch an abused dog and it's like that, that's almost like my kid with this freaking mask, and he's in kindergarten. This was his very first year here. All summer long I was pumping him up, getting him so excited for kindergarten. Do you think he loves kindergarten today?
No. He's broken.
He's crying right now because I'm gonna make him come to school tomorrow. My husband just texted me. He's crying because he's scared he's gotta go to school tomorrow. What? Come on, man. It's a mask. It's a mask. He was trying to. You get sent home a school picture with all your kids. They all took their school picture. You get a class picture, right? We're trying to write out our Valentines all weekend long. In the picture, there's no mask. He couldn't put the name to the face of the 12 other kids in his class. He's getting lost in school. He doesn't even know his way to his classroom. Maybe if I could go in and just kind of warm him up to it, you know, I'm his mom. But no, those doors at that front desk are locked shut. I cannot walk my kid to his classroom even if I wanted to. I cannot pick him up in the health office when he's sick and having an asthma attack. Oh, and because of COVID, he can't take his rescue inhaler. You guys can't give him his rescue inhaler because of his asthma? I have to come in and give him his inhaler and you bring him outside? I can't even go inside the school. I'm getting really heated. I'm really nervous about this. This entire week has been a lot of information given to me. I've been silenced. I haven't been loud at all. Because I didn't know what to do. I sent you all an email. I said, you will see my face. You will hear my name. My name is Kelly Wolf. I'm a real estate agent. Tammy, you called me the day after my email, the day after you copy and pasted to most of us parents, which I understand. You guys this is your own time. You're not getting paid for this. So thank you for sitting here and entertaining us and just listening with open ears. Tammy, thank you for calling me. Thank you for your service. This is my first year with a kid in this school. I graduated from this school. All my family has graduated from this school. We're locals through and through. We love this school. We do not love how our children are coming home miserable. We do not love how our children are scared to go out in public without a mask. We're very frustrated. I don't know what else to say. That's just my personal opinion. Oh, maybe the face rash that he has. Oh, the headaches too, and the sick stomach. He goes to the nurse's office a lot. For a kid who's so healthy, other than his asthma, he is so healthy and so happy, such a go-getter. Not anymore. I've seen it on the decline since September. And it's kind of like I'm done being quiet about it because I just see his health on the decline, mental, physical, emotional, all of it. And he loves gym and recess. Why is that? Because he can get away with wearing no mask. That's all I gotta say. My kid is hurt. And this is your time, so I'm keeping it short because I know you're not getting really paid for this. So thank you. Thank you for sitting and at least listening. And hopefully, like we said, we can come together as a community and come to a resolve for a choice. You can wear it if you want to wear it. Okay?
Thank you for coming to talk. And thank you, Hunter. And I have to say, I'm embarrassed because I can thank Hunter for coming to talk, but I didn't get your name earlier. And I don't like not being able to say thank you, Hunter, and also thank you to you. What was your name?
My name?
Yes.
Peyton Calvo.
Peyton?
Yeah.
Thank you for coming to talk, Peyton. I know it's not easy. Thank you.
Really brave.
Absolutely.
She received a phone call home this week I was walking out of. surgery appointment for my husband. Someone in the school called, talk about me, about how she's a wonderful student, how proud they were of how she's an individual and she's respectful. And one of the most important things that my daughter brought up today, and that person specifically brought up, was if my kids, especially being screwed up, she is not going to wiggle worm and try to get out of it. She will take accountability. Because that's what I've taught my kids, is that your word is your bond. And it's all we have, right? And so I get this phone call, and I'm kind of coming out of the doctor's office, and all kinds of bad news that just hit me. And she's going on, and she's saying, man, thank you for what you do at home, and she's a great kid, and she's a rock star. And I got really quiet. Got really awkward. I said, I'm sorry, I was sort of waiting for the shoe to drop. Like, your kid is really great, but she got in a fight, or she tried to run the school down, or I don't know, some horrible thing. Like, I was just kind of like, but one thing that kind of ran through my head was she won't wear a mask right. The point to that story is we all have great kids. Second point to my story is every time 518-966-5070 shows up on my phone, I get sick to my stomach.
Yep.
I don't know if I'm going to lose work, or if my kids are going to be home alone, and how am I going to balance running a business and making peanut butter and jelly? Or was my kid bullied? Or was it COVID related? Were they sick? Do I have to take them to the doctor? If I drive them to get tested and I'm in the same car, I'm going to have to quarantine, and my business is going to have to shut down because every morning my company meets at my kitchen table because I believe in closeness and coffee. Yeah, the point to that is every one of us is sad. We're full of anxiety. We're stressed out. We don't know what to do anymore. It's not that we're fed up because we're pissed off. We're fed up because we're all scared. And we're tired, and we're grasping at every possible ounce of strength, whether it be at Sunday church, or the person across the street, or a perfect stranger who paid for one of my workers' gas the other day because we're all broke. It's just bad. We're all we got. And we're the only ones that are going to show us our kids that they only have each other. We preach to them, we want them to stand up for one another. Well, don't we have to start by standing up together to show them what that looks like? Attitude reflects leadership. You can't expect them to do something that they've never seen. This is our opportunity to show them exactly what that looks like. I just ask that, like everybody else, that you do it with us. We'll protect you. I'm not saying that we can fix every financial thing that might come up, or every bad word that might come across your way. Believe you me, as a person who's unvaxxed and unmasked, I get all kinds of negative Nancy stuff out there in the world, but I'll take it if it means I'm going to fight standing on my feet for my kids' freedom, because I would rather stand on my feet fighting than die on my knees. Not trying. Just fight with us. Just let us know you want us to fight. Just tell us you want us to fight, we'll fight. I mean, listen, we're here, right?
Can I just say before I go home, because it is school night, you'd mentioned earlier, what's your name?
My name is Dave Finch.
Okay, thank you for that. Well, you mentioned that you haven't heard about anything that's been going on with me in school, or not even just me, in general. So that means that all the times that I've gone to the counselor this year, okay, honey, you got this. All the times that I went to the counselor this year, either sent there or by choice, nobody's heard anything of it. Now, I know the school doesn't really usually do much with what the information I give them about either bullying or seeing something going on. I just didn't know it's that easily brushed off. Like it's not taken seriously. We protested today, and now I have to go back to school worrying about, well, you know, I respect the teacher's class that I walked out of, but I also respect my rights and beliefs. So walking out for you know, me, you know, maybe to you guys it was nothing, but to me it was everything. Whether it was half the school or just a small group of people, I still would have went because it's still right. I didn't know any of the people in that group I was there with. And honestly, I'm glad that I was there with people who thought the same way I thought. Now I have to go to school tomorrow, and I'm not worried about the students. I'm very well with, keeping self-control. I'm not worried about students saying anything to me. I'm going to keep my calm. I'm worried genuinely about the teachers and what they're going to say to me and what they're going to do. And as corny as it sounds, walking out of that school today, the amount of relief and freedom I felt, it felt like walking from somewhere so surrounded of negativity and just being able to walk out and just be free for 6 hours in the cold. And then we were told to sit down with the signs and not chant, and I've just been told to be quiet for years, and I'm just so tired. And honestly, I'm tired right now. I've been tired, and I don't want to be disrespectful to anybody, and I don't want any of my teachers to disagree with me. But even I've been studying mechanics. I want to go to NASCAR Institute. I want to do things that are good. But recently my teacher told me, since I want to race the go-kart we're building, well, he said to me after I was quarantined, which I didn't have COVID, he said to me that, well, you should probably get vaccinated, or, then you should probably go get your booster, and you should keep wearing your mask. And that made me go home and think, well, for the love of God, what if I tell this man that I'm not vaccinated? Which, first of all, it's none of his business, but then maybe I won't get the opportunities that I had before. So many things have just been robbed of me the past few years and everybody else, and I'm just so tired. I'm so tired, and I didn't want to protest today, only for the reason being I didn't want anyone to feel disrespected, and I didn't want my teachers to think of me differently, but I'm glad that I did it. And yeah, even if it was small, even if people say that it did nothing, well, it made me feel like my beliefs are more important because other people believe in them too. So, I hope that if anything I said was important to you, you take it into consideration, because I think it's time to take some things into consideration. And thank you for your time.
I think tomorrow you're going to be all right, because you've already learned a lot today, and you're going to be much stronger tomorrow.
Thank you.
From what you went through today. I can guarantee you that.
Thank you.
And Aiden, I'll just apologize if I misunderstood, but one thing you said, I think you mentioned going to the counselor and then how we hadn't heard of that. I just want you to know that's not the type of thing we would normally hear about, and I don't want you to, again, if I misunderstood, I apologize, but I don't want you to feel like it wasn't worthwhile or good or something, if you wanted to or needed to, it wasn't worthwhile because we didn't hear. That's not normally something that come to us. So, I don't know if there was that expectation or not, but I don't want you to feel that you somehow weren't heard or wasn't worthwhile to go just because we didn't hear about that experience before.
Maybe that's a good opportunity to start having a different type of meeting with your counselors and with your principals, and talking behind closed doors on the mental health of your students who's struggling and who needs a little extra attention. Maybe this is a good opportunity to start something new. Maybe this is something you should know. Maybe there are a number of teachers that are doing things that are inappropriate, and that maybe there are students that are going and trying to resolve it with their counselors. Maybe you should talk to the counselors. Maybe the counselors should talk to you. Because how can you represent anybody if you don't know?
They're like, well, our kids are trying to, if we know that, then it looks bad on them. A lot of students have come to their counselors about the teachers and about the way they get treated.
Yeah.
And it's like, they can't speak up. Well, we're gonna try. Well, how are you gonna try? And you don't even answer. Well, what are you gonna do for her? What are you gonna do for him?
Right.
Well, we're gonna talk to them. Well, can they talk together? Can we mediate something? No, we don't do that. How are we supposed to get through something if there isn't a difference? We have to get people to talk.
And perhaps maybe with accountability and knowing that, I don't know, maybe every 2 months. I'm not trying to suck every dinner and bedtime story out of you guys, but maybe the teachers would think a little bit before they speak and how their platform affects their students. If they knew that the students that needed to vent to their counselors, if that information was being handed to you, I'm not trying to punish anybody, just trying to make there be some accountability for maybe the teachers would stop and think, okay, you know what? I'm kind of letting my personal stuff get in the way, I'm having a bad day. If I know that I have to act some type of way around my in-laws, or my husband's gonna get mad, I learn not to say the F word. And that's my favorite word, right? Because it's accountability. It's about respect. So maybe you guys should
I'm interrupting a little bit, but I think there should just be a general respect period. I don't think anyone should be treated different.
No.
She's got important things. She goes to the counselors. I'm speaking. We can't have the teachers thinking crazy all the time, constantly, every way. We just have to know the limits.
If the counselors in general see, like, hey, we saw, 40 students this month because this was like a repetitive thing, maybe that is something that could be shared with you guys, so you all are on the same page. Like, if it's an overall issue, I don't mean address everybody's problems individually, but if there is something that's loud and it's there and it's relevant, maybe it does need to be shared. So.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah. Right.
Oh, you all thought I was gonna say something. I'm
Yeah.
just
No,
standing.
I wasn't letting you. I wasn't letting you. Chokehold.
So I just have a question. Tonight, I've heard a lot of what you can't do. You can't do this, you can't do that. We have come to you tonight, you said you didn't know about these things, which is sad in itself, that
Right.
somehow between all of you in this building, there is some large disconnect. And that, I don't know how the information is supposed to move or what can be done about that. But my question is, what can you do? We're telling you our children are hurt. We're telling you they're not receiving a good education. We're telling you that they're being discriminated against. We're telling you that they're miserable. We're telling you that they don't want to be here. And personally, I don't want to be here. I don't like being in this building anymore. I do not feel welcome. And when I'm here, it makes me extremely angry. At home, any big that we all have comes from this building. It is a thorn in my side, and I want to know what you can do. What can you do as a board to help us with the things that we voiced tonight? Because isn't that why we're here?
Yeah. We want to know what we can do to help you, what you can do to help us, because health is on the decline, and apparently it's all about health, right?
I don't.
Well, it's on the decline. I've seen it since September.
That's what I want to know.
I mean, there's some pretty serious things that were brought up tonight, and I would hope that before we leave this room, somebody sitting over there would say, you take this stuff really serious, and when we leave here, we're going to meet however you guys need to re-meet, whether it's over the phone or in a room, and you're going to, I know that I'm the parent of the child who brought those allegations out here. I'm completely comfortable with an email going out to everybody saying, we're investigating this and we're gonna find out how to fix the situation. I don't think that she deserves anything less than that. I think she deserves a commitment from you guys, the way she's committed herself to her studies and how she is in school like every other student. That you guys tell us how serious you're gonna take this and where you're gonna go.
I just want to hear what you guys can do.
Yeah.
What can you do to help
So
us?
we can have reasonable expectations.
Let them talk.
and
I want to
not-
hear. I'm asking a question. What can you do to help us?
Well, I think one of the first things is I have been taking notes, and then afterwards, I think that we would like more information, so that there's serious things that you've shared with us. Okay, we need to investigate it further, we need to understand it, so we will be doing that and working with Tammy and so forth. So right now, that's what I can say. We will follow up.
So I don't
with
think,
more information.
I don't think we're asking for you guys to give us an answer right now as to what are you gonna do for each individual, but we laid out a ton of stuff.
Yeah.
We're really saying, what expectation?
We understand that you're gonna have to do an investigation.
What expectation is reasonable for us to have on a board member? Maybe there's things that, you know, like I have a painting company. Like I go to paint houses. I can't fix the plumbing. It's not my deal. You know, I'm saying, so if someone had that expectation, I have to set that expectation with my customer, saying, hey, I can do A, B, and C, and this is kind of the expectation you should have, and what I can probably deliver for you. Is there any expectation that you think that that would be good for us to understand as what's reasonable for us to look to you for? Maybe we have a wrong idea of what your responsibilities are, or what you think it is. Just trying to understand. I don't know. Just in general. I don't know if that makes sense. You don't need to answer all the questions that we had there. You'll come up with an answer for it, and this is what we're going to do. What do you feel you're able to do as far as?
Well, the first thing we can do is we can start asking questions, and I think that everyone is very comfortable asking questions. I know I excel at that, so I can do that.
Also, there was a lot, excuse me, a lot covered tonight, and I'm going to maybe I'm taking this too literally. Apologize, and again, it's an answer that I think isn't going to be satisfactory or like make anyone happy. But it's just, I think, to me, the way it is, as a board, none of us individually have any authority, right? We can't do anything individually as a board. It's all together. So what that means is now we have to like digest what we've heard, talk about it, and then as a board, like if there's something's going to happen, you know, like we have to talk about that and work through it. It's not always a fast process. Some things can happen more quickly than others. It depends, but there's a lot that's been gone through. It's late now. I think what you, in my opinion, also, like I think Tracy hit it. You know, we can follow up with a discussion, you know, as a board to figure out like which pieces can we actually consider doing something on now, which is just a matter of following up internally to, you know, say, because it's just, I think there's a limit to also what the board can do, and you know, get back to you. You can always, you know, keep writing, encourage everyone to write, show up at meetings, and I'll just say, I'm sorry, I'll shut up in a minute. I'm just going off on a tangent now. All of this will pass, right? I mean, at some point, we'll be past the pandemic and the masks will all be forgotten. We won't have these issues before us. I would love to still see all of you and other people out here. These meetings are often quiet. You know, it would be great to have good turnout and engagement. Ask questions. Tell us what you're thinking. I know sometimes, you know, it's emotional and you're going to get upset and yell and tell me to shame myself. Great. Tell me. Come on out. Like, just
Only if we can do something about it. You know, like sometimes we come here and we're like, well, our hands are tied. So it's like, well, what do we do? But we can have a resolve. If we can get going with this, that'd be great. I'll be here every meeting. You will see my face, know my name.
What's your name again? You guys had a lot to digest. I mean, and at points, I mean, it looked like you were being attacked, but I mean, we're just here for the fight of our kids. I mean, and we don't expect you to give us an answer or, hey, we're gonna do this on every little thing that we just threw at you. But I mean, give the kids something.
Numbers are down.
Tomorrow morning when they go back to school, if he's got his mask off his nose, leave him alone. Say good morning to him for a change.
Say good morning before you yell at the public.
Yeah. Make a joke out of it for a change. I mean, show some compassion. Hey, Billy, come on, man. How many times we got to go over this? I'm like a beaten, you know, dead horse. Feel like a broken record. Do you know how many phone calls I get? Too many. I got to stop work and go.
Now,
I know what this is.
He may not know, but I'm sure one of the principals
Exactly.
here do know exactly how many phone calls go out. Like Mr. Hand, lots of phone calls go out.
It's simple to just
many,
be
many
social
parents.
with these kids that, you know, this whole time, and nobody's showing that they even care about them. All you're doing is not you, hounding them. The mask. And then I'm at work, I'm like, what? Because I already know what it is. Told your kid 3 times to pull up his mask today. Click. Same thing with the other one. Well, they're tired of it. How about you say hello to them instead?
Right.
How about you, joke around with them a little bit?
And let me tell you, I don't know the beautiful young lady that's our new high school principal. That's all of my children's rooms are in him. The one thing that I miss is his smile. I need that man to see those elementary kids. I don't need him to waste his time or money telling kids to put up their masks. That man has a smile that will light up that elementary school from one side to the other. He has never had an unkind word or even moment that I have ever witnessed in all my years here. This is a man who walks around the world with a beautiful smile, and it should be seen, and if it can't be, please don't waste his time making him tell kids to put up their mask. He is far better served with a high five, man. Tell you something, we started my kids into this middle school proud, safe,
Ours too.
and happy. And if it wasn't for him, who was the base of that, we can't rob these kids of that. That's a special man right there.
It is.
I agree.
All right, I gotta go home. I'm gonna turn into a pumpkin.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Sorry?
Dan Flannery, me and my wife here, we got 4 kids in Greenville, and I don't think I could come up with anything, as good as a lot of these guys, but just our experience, just so some of you probably don't have kids in school or at home anymore, but we pulled my younger 2 out last year. We homeschooled. We were lucky enough that my wife should stay home to homeschool, and we had high hopes for this year. My daughter went into middle school in 6th grade, and my son was excited to have Mr. Keefe as the rest of the kids had. So the year started, and immediately my youngest, he just stomach aches every day. I just want to know it's not just a couple of people talking; it's everybody. So eventually, we pulled him out, and he's at home again, and he's a great kid, a lot of fun, lots of friends. He's missing out on this experience, and I'm proud as hell of my daughters for walking out today and standing up for what they believe in. I wish I was there with them, honestly. And just if you could picture yourself around your dinner table, if you had kids at home or not, the conversation is always negative now. It's always about kids.
Do any of you know what the consequences, most of these students that attended tonight, or ones that attended, who walk out to you, I think you know what the consequences for that will be?
Well, they're already being ridiculed by their peers.
Well, they're being, yeah, there's group
But,
chats and those kids are being.
Well, I called the school after our protest and to Mr. Reeves' secretary there and asked what were the kids' discipline that were out there today, or are they allowed to go back to school tomorrow? She was not aware of any kind of discipline, and she said that they are allowed to come back to school as long as they have their masks. So hopefully they shouldn't be punished for that.
And I hope the teachers don't take it upon themselves to ridicule our children again about walking out and making them feel as if
They're already being bullied by kids.
they don't need to be bullied by their teachers like they have been. And I feel like you as a board should make recommendations to your teachers and say, hey, you represent, these kids see you doing it. Guess what? Now these kids are doing it all day long. And they're not stopping.
Yeah.
You got your sign over there that says take action. Never give up. Stand together. Grow together. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Does anybody else want to say anything? I don't want to be defeated. Everybody's good? Hey, guys.
Thank you.
So what do we do? Is it okay for everybody to leave? It's over? 'Cause- Oh, it's your turn to discuss it. We're ready to go. Okay.
Even though it's
Yeah.
start, unless
Thank
you
you.
wanna put a mask
Thank
on,
you.
maybe go start. I don't know
No.
how that works. Yeah, I don't know.
Which items?
Take a